School District of Indian River County. I ask that out of respect to everyone, please silence all electronic devices. At this time, I'd like to call the meeting to order. The time is 5:30. Before I recognize the superintendent for a series of awards, I'd first like to congratulate him on behalf of the board for being named the 2025 Superintendent of the Year for the state of Florida. And you know I'll do that again in the business meeting. All right. I'd also like to congratulate him on being the Consortium for Florida Education Foundation's Star Superintendent of the Year for 2024. So they only give out 3 awards in Tampa every year at our conference, and he got 2 of the 3 of them, so that was wonderful. At this time, I'd like to recognize Superintendent Moore for a series of awards and presentations.
And that third award is on communication and marketing. Ms. Maddox, no pressure. We expect to bring that home next year, but we do have a number of presentations, and I'll turn it over to Ms. Maddox.
Thank you, Dr. Moore. Tonight we have a couple of very special presentations. Our first one is our Casual for a Cause presentation. We have 2 organizations that we will be recognizing tonight with our donation because we did not have awards and presentations last month, so we're catching up a little bit. The first organization, they are unable to be here tonight, the Homeless Children's Foundation of Indian River County. And the second one, they are here tonight, I believe, Ms. Cynthia Ryan, the Executive Director of the Veterans Council, and her board members. If you would please come on up. Thank you. So in November, our Casual for a Cause fundraising took place for the Veterans Council because it's a very special month for our veterans. And our schools had an opportunity to dress down in exchange for a donation. So our students, teachers, and staff members were able to do that. And altogether, our schools raised a total of $1,106.67 for the Veterans Council.
Thank you very much. 10% of the Indian River County is made up of veterans, so that's about 16,000 veterans in the county. And if we include their families, we're close to 30,000. And 29% of all veterans that live in the state of Florida live at or below the poverty level. So this money is very impactful to the veterans and their families, so thank you.
Careful.
Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
How are you?
Thank you. For our next presentation, we have our Vero Beach High School Cognia 100 Years of Excellence as an accredited institution. And a member of Cognia, the Senior Director of the Southeast Region, Ms. Diana Weinbaum, is here to present that to Vero Beach High School. Ms. Weinbaum.
I'm going to ask your assistance while I read something here. All right, Superintendent Moore, School Board, Mr. O'Keefe, and your entire community. I'm Diana Weinbaum. I'm the Senior Director for Cognia, and I would be remiss if I didn't tell you our personal congratulations to Dr. Moore for your awards. It's really quite remarkable. And it's really a testament for the work of all of you together, and I'm sure he would agree with me, that you work so tirelessly for continuous improvement and for every single student in your classroom. And this recognition that we're honoring tonight is just one additional testament of that as well. We're recognizing Vero Beach High School, which reached a significant milestone of 100 years as an accredited institution. In today's world of overnight startups, reinvented industries, and online commerce, very few organizations can claim the distinction of 100 years of service and excellence. With a focus on school improvement, your school continues to demonstrate an unwavering commitment, striving to help all students reach their potential. Expectations, standards, and practices have certainly changed in 100 years, but what hasn't changed is the dedication of your community of educators to meet the many challenges along the way. We commend your entire faculty, staff, and community who share in this achievement. At Cognia, we believe your success is our mission. At Vero Beach High School, you and your staff continue to create opportunities that propel learners toward college and career readiness. We are honored to have been part of your improvement journey, and we look forward to continuing our work together. On behalf of Cognia, please accept a banner that I have at my seat and a framed certificate commemorating your 100 years of accreditation. You have my best wishes for your continued success of your institution and for many more years of dedicated and meaningful service to students. Celebrate your accomplishments far and wide. It's truly something to be proud of in your community and beyond. Congratulations, Mr. O'Keefe, and the entire Vero Beach High School community.
Thank you very much.
Find a window.
I just want to say, like in 2004, I was part of the visiting accreditation team. Yes, I was. I recommended full accreditation.
And that concludes our presentations.
Madam Chair, that's all we got.
Okay, so I'm going to close this meeting at 5:38, and we will reconvene for invocation at 5:50. welcome you to the school board business meeting at the Joe N. Idelette Jr. TEC. Today is Monday, December 9th, 2024, and I'd like to call this meeting to order. The time is 6 p.m. I ask that out of respect to everyone, please at this time check your devices and make sure they are silenced. Also, if you have any material you wish to share with any board member, please give that to our executive assistant, Mrs. Moray. She's seated over here. At this time, I would like to present the Sebastian River High School Navy Junior ROTC under the direction of Commander Peter Bissonnette, United States Navy, retired, and Senior Chief John Silva, United States Navy, retired, for the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand.
Order, colors, ready, cut, about, face, present, colors, ready, cut. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order, colors, ready, cut, pose, colors, march, left, left. Pose, colors, and salute. Ready, two, pose, colors, march. Left, left. Forward, march, left, left. Colors, halt. Clear up, hold on.
That is an advantage we have as a school board. They did a great job. Thank you. All right, at this time, school board members, we're to the adoption of the orders of the day. I have two items I'm going to be adding to discussion. The first one is Pinellas Education Foundation, and the second one is Diligent. Is there anything that any other board members would like to either move from consent to action or add to discussion? Ms. Rosario.
I'd like to add protocols for discussion and FSBA in general. I know you're going to talk about Diligent, but just in general, FSBA, which is the Florida School Boards Association.
Anyone else?
I have another item.
Okay.
I would like to remove action item F, which is the school board attorney RFP process.
Okay. Could I get a second on that one?
Second.
Okay. Dr. Pasca. Any discussion on that removal? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any other? Okay, thank you all. I'm going to call for a motion to accept the orders of the day as amended.
So move.
Okay. Doc Jones? Dr. Pasca? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes 5-0. Thank you. All right. Before I recognize Dr. Moore, I'd first like to say on behalf of the board, we just did this, but we're going to do it again, to congratulate him on being named Florida's Superintendent of the Year for 2025. And And I'd also like to congratulate him on being Florida Consortium Star Superintendent for 2024. And before you get to speak, I'm just going to say, I know it takes a village, and I see a lot of the people in this room that have done that, done the work behind the scenes, and we appreciate you all, because he would not get that award without all of your hard work and all of the students' accomplishments. So congratulations to everyone. Now I'd like to recognize the Florida Superintendent of the Year, Dr. Moore.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I have a very brief presentation because November, there wasn't a lot of school. November 20th, we had our employee onboarding session, which is a very unique initiative. We, once a month or every other month, anyone who's newly hired to the district has the opportunity to come, get firsthand introductions to key staff to make sure that we are retaining the individuals that we hire. This whole initiative, which goes across all of the different offices, it's just not HR. HR may lead the work with a number of different offices. It's really ensuring that our people feel part of our family, and it has paid absolutely huge dividends in retaining our staff and ensuring people understand our way of work and collectively work as hard as we all do. Sebastian River High School had their Culinary Arts Thanksgiving Showcase, where it was their students serving other students, an absolutely outstanding event and a growing program there. And then, as just referenced, just last week, I was honored of the 67 superintendents to be identified as the State Superintendent of the Year, which is an absolute true honor. And then, as Ms. Berenborg said, also, even though we just started our Ed Foundation 6 months ago, already based on that work and the volume of work that has been done, acknowledged as the Consortium of Florida Education Foundation's Star Superintendent of the Year. And this morning, I wish I got to work a little bit earlier, so the entire district building was standing outside and just showered me with applause and appreciation for earning Superintendent of the Year. But the most important slide is this one, because at the end of the day, as Ms. Berenborg was saying, I may be the individual selected as the Superintendent of the Year, but it's a reflection of everyone's work. This acknowledgement doesn't come without teachers who are at work super early and stay super late, who engage in conversations to be best by kids. I think of our relationship with the union, and I see Ms. Friedland standing in the back. I don't know if they have a union president of the year, but some of this partnership that we have put together, I think we're one of the only districts that do interest-based bargaining, and we've, just coming off the superintendent conference, I was asked, I got a lot of congratulations, but the second most thing I was asked was about our relationship and how we work together to create contracts that are in the best interest of students. So I'm very, very proud of that. Our building principals, they're not here for me, they're here for Mr. Seymour, which is the better part of this meeting. But each and every single one of them are true instructional leaders who have an unwavering expectation around what we can do in the life of children. So this acknowledgement, obviously I talk about my staff each and every single day during committee, wrong district. During workshop today, I didn't really have to say much. The depth in which each and every single one of them speak, the quality of their work, and their unwavering commitment to this board and to our children is absolutely exciting. So thank you for acknowledging me, but it is a reflection of this community's work. This community should be very, very, very proud of where its public school system is. And in the same breath I say that, there's still work to be done. We want to be the literacy capital of America. We want to be the district that all other systems are looking at to figure out how do you transform a school district. Go look at what Indian River County is doing. So thank you very, very, very much. The next item is going to be a very, very tough one for me. It is the proclamation and honoring in one of Indian River County's own, Mr. Eric Seymour, who will be retiring from the school district when we return in January. And Mr. Seymour is sitting at his last board meeting today, as he smiles. So we have a series of presentations and remarks. The first piece of the presentation is what has become a tradition now, the proclamation for Mr. Seymour, and I'll turn it over to our board to facilitate the reading of that proclamation.
Okay, Mr. Dyer is going to start us.
This is a proclamation in honor of Eric J. Seymour, in appreciation for his service to the school district of Indian River County. Whereas Eric J. Seymour has dedicated his career to the tireless service of students, families, and our community, always advocating for the well-being and success of others, and
whereas he has been a steadfast and compassionate presence in the lives of many, offering guidance, support, and a listening ear to all who came seeking help. And
Whereas through his work, he has fostered a spirit of care, patience, and empathy, ensuring that no one felt unheard or unsupported, and consistently making a positive difference in the lives of others. And whereas his deep commitment to fostering a sense of community, building relationships, and supporting families has left an indelible mark on the fabric of our schools, neighborhoods, and hearts. And
Whereas through countless hours of dedication, hard work, and generosity, he has become a trusted ally, an advocate for those facing challenges, and a friend to all who have had the privilege to work with him. And whereas we recognize and celebrate Eric J. Seymour's remarkable legacy of service, kindness, and commitment to making the world a better place, particularly for the children and families in Indian River County.
Now, therefore, the School District of Indian River County hereby proclaims December 9th, 2024, Eric J. Seymour Day, to honor and express our deepest gratitude for his unwavering dedication and service to the School District of Indian River County. His contributions will continue to inspire and impact this community for generations to come. All right, board members, we have a proclamation on the table. I need a motion to accept it.
So move.
Okay,
second,
Dr. Jones, second by Dr. Posca. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? It passes 5-0. Congratulations.
So what I'd like to do at this time is ask Mr. Seymour to come up, receive the proclamation. And Vicki, if you would come up as well. For those of you that do not know, Vicki is Mr. Seymour's partner in life. You never have a conversation too long with Mr. Seymour without him referencing Vicki and having to call and get permission for things. So if you both would come up, we would want to take a picture and acknowledge this proclamation. These are for Vicki, not for you.
thank you.
I get more than a handshake.
All right, we gotta find a spot between Eric and everything else. Go ahead, Eric.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, get in there.
Oh, okay.
There you go. Perfect. All right, ready? 1, 2, and 3. Doc, take a step to your left, please. 1,
before Mr. Seymour addresses his fans, we do have a number of brief presentations. The first is a video recording from Mr. Seymour's former principal and mentor, Jerry Smith.
Good evening. My name is Jerry McPherson Smith. I am here tonight to speak about one of my favorite professional people and one of my favorite people knowing him personally, Eric Seymour. I am a retired educator. I retired as a vice president of Florida Atlantic University's northern campuses. I was a principal for years, a teacher for years, so literally I spent 36 years in education. And one of my very favorite activities was mentoring assistant principals who wanted to be principals. In the year 2000, now this is 25 years ago almost, I first heard about Eric Seymour. He was a shining star even then, and our principal, our superintendent, Dr. Vogel, wanted him to be in our school district. At the time, I was principal of Lincoln Park Academy, which was a middle high school academic magnet school. We had a lot of students, we had 4 assistant principals, and I was honored that I was able to hire Eric, and he proved to be fantastic. Every principal's dream is to want to have an assistant who not only increases the workload, but reduces it. Eric gave 150% of his time, all the time. He cared about students, and that was a priority of all of us. We had high expectations. Our school was extremely successful, and I credit that to the teachers, obviously, the students, the parents, and the leadership team, and Eric was a critical part of that. In the year 2002, Newsweek magazine recognized the top 100 public schools in the state of Florida, in actually the nation, 100 schools in the nation. We were 21st. We were a blue ribbon school. We scored an A ranking for years. We were a 5-star school, and I credit Eric with that leadership role. So thank you, Eric, for being the outstanding leader. Thank you for being the intelligent, professional person that you are. I also credit Eric with being our community liaison, not just in our local community, but he was selected in the early 2000s when he worked with me to be a Leadership Florida classmate, and that was a hard program to get in. As a result of that, he met people from around the state, he networked, he served on many communities, many committees around the state of Florida, and he was an excellent representative for our school and our district. And it was only a few years before Eric became a principal. And it was no surprise. I knew that I was mentoring him. He was outstanding. He was a shining star all along, and he pulled together, and it made all of us very happy to have him and to work with him. But it wasn't just because he was a great administrator. He was also fun. We learned to laugh every day because we had to. We worked hard. We had some tough situations, but we laughed at the same time, and that's what made it very special, and that's what made Eric very special. So tonight, I want to say congratulations, Eric, on your well-deserved outstanding career. I'm very proud of you. Personally, I know I seemed like a mother to you sometimes. I could have these high expectations. I could be very demanding, but you always came through. I trusted you. I knew that you were an incredible part of our team, and most importantly, you cared about every single student. So, at the end of this evening, I wish you and Vicki a very happy retirement. You deserve it. I'm very proud of you, and thank you for the outstanding job you've done for students for so many years. Thank you.
The rest of our presenters are here, and the podium is right over here. So next on the list is Mr. Teddy Floyd.
Eric, do you need Kleenex? Good.
Well, my mom's a pastor, so y'all get ready. No, I'm just joking. I wouldn't start clowning. I was just calm. I first want to give honor to God for being here and to being friends with Eric. And I want to say thank you to my boss for being here, and Coach Jay, and I bring him greetings to the whole entire board and all my community leaders that are here. This is a joyous day, but also a sad day because we're losing a great mentor in our community. Eric touched my heart some 20 years ago, and I was working for the sheriff's office, and we were working alongside all our leaders. One of our mentors is here right now. Dr. is here, and Freddie and Tony and all those guys. And we were trying to work together with all the community to find a way, working with Doc and all of them, to find a way we could bridge the gap through our community. My former partners here, Joe Fletcher, who's a commissioner, we wanted to change. And Eric came in with some great ideas of mentoring and came in. I was working along with him a long, long time. It brings a tear. And I wanted to say to you, Eric, thank you. Thank you, thank you. I was watching a movie the other day, and it reminded me Gladiator, because we had a game and we were going out to represent our county to make sure we bring back that title. There's a part in that movie that says what you do in life echoes in eternity. Eric, what you've done will land in many of our kids' hearts for life and time to come. What you've done will leave a foundation in the hearts of everybody that you've touched along the way. I'm honored to be able to speak for you, to tell you how much and how grateful I am, but I'm also great to tell the whole entire board, my boss, and Coach Jay, all y'all, all my mentors, that I'm grateful to work alongside this man. And I'm very grateful that, and I'm wishing you and Vicki the best. You know you got to come back and help me work in that community. But we found something to do. We'll find something to do. But I want to tell you thank you, and I'm grateful for you. Bye-bye.
Next on my list is Marie O'Brien, who comes bearing gifts.
And in her own chair, her own step stool.
What's going on here?
So, those guys, that's so hard to follow. In the proclamation, I said to Liz, I'm like, that's my speech. You know, it's such an honor to get to represent our community and our Moonshot Action Network, and to be here to honor Eric, well, everybody, but everything that Eric's been doing, and to be here together. And you know, Eric's educational philosophy, I thought, was best captured in his own words, because he had said, you know, the answer, it's building relationships with students. He said, you get to their hearts, and then you have them believe in themselves. And I thought that just sums up everything that being Best by Kids and everything that Eric's been doing. And I first got to meet Vicki at years ago, but the Hear My Story project that Eric was working on, and that just, I felt that if any of you were part of that, it just beautifully embodied Eric's belief. And he gave everyone a platform for these individuals to share their stories of resilience and of triumph over the adversities that they had in their lives. And through those narratives, it showed the students and the adults who were there that we really could confront our own challenges. And it gave everyone this newfound courage and determination. And it's a project that just touched me and touched everyone so deeply. And that's just one example. You know, beyond the classroom, we all have seen Eric's unwavering commitment to the students, and it just extended beyond the ordinary. I remember there was a story, I knew a teacher who told me they had a student who couldn't read because they couldn't see the board and they needed glasses, and the parent couldn't take them. And Eric said, I can I can do it through the school, and I'll take them to the eye doctor. And it's just, that's the examples of stepping above and beyond. And your impact, Eric, has reached so far beyond the school walls. as you've heard everyone say, and I agree, you're such a respected pillar of the community. You're a mentor, you're a friend, and you're an inspiration to all of us. And it's been a privilege and it's been an honor to get to work with you. And the work that you've done for students and families, we consider you a moonshot hero. And every hero gets a cake. So I did this.
That's so cool. That's so cool.
You need to get it from behind.
Dr. A. Ronald Hudson is next on the list.
Good evening. I'm indeed honored and humbled to have the opportunity to be involved in Eric's retirement celebration. Eric, I am sure you are so excited, knowing that this is your last time you'll have to attend a staff meeting or to answer a telephone call from a parent. And I want you to know that we certainly aren't going to envy your new freedom. You may be saying to your boss and your colleagues goodbye, but just remember, you will become a full-time employee of your spouse. And I've heard Vicki Hayes Seymour runs a tight ship. But I know that you will endure and you will persevere. Jokes aside, today, ladies and gentlemen, we celebrate and recognize someone exceptional who has made an invaluable difference in this school district and in this community. As all know, Eric is retiring at the end of this year and moving on to the next, less stressful chapter of life. I have known Eric for most of his life. Even when Eric was a teenager, he stood about a foot above me, and I had to look up to him. I still look up to him today because of the incredible person he has become. After graduating college, he returned to Indian River County and started his career as a teacher at Vero Beach High School. His great enthusiasm, his extreme dedication, and his outstanding professionalism provided an opportunity for him to become a school administrator in St. Lucie and Indian River County School District. Eric exemplifies the professional educator at its best. Whether during his career as a teacher or his years as an administrator, the people associated with him could not help but benefit from his drive, his energy, his sense of humor, his intelligence, his insight, and his caring. It is with great pride and gratitude that we recognize the profound impact he has had not only on our school district, but on our community and our lives. Eric, today we celebrate your unwavering commitment, visionary leadership, and timeless dedication to nurturing the minds and hearts of countless students, parents, and others. Your career has been marked by numerous achievements, innovative initiatives, and steadfast commitment to excellence. Your ability to inspire, motivate, and lead with compassion has earned the respect and admiration of your colleagues, students, and parents. We have all been incredibly fortunate to witness and learn from Eric's exemplary leadership. In short, this poem, in my opinion, depicts and expresses both your career journey as well as your life. And the author is unknown, but I thought it best expresses who you really are. And it says that if your life were an open book, the pages would be tinged with gold, and we would read a story there to be remembered and retold. For we would read of how you gave to each and everyone you met, the fullness that your heart could give, the love that no one could forget. And you would take a special place within our minds and hearts too, a place we'd often come to dream, and there, with love, remember you. Congratulations, best wish. God bless.
Don't lose your cape, superhero.
Oh, shoot, hold on. Mayor Coutinho, you're up.
Thank you. I got to meet Eric probably later than most people have. Many people have worked with him for decades, years. I got to meet Eric through a mutual friend, Wilfred Hart, who introduced us when we were both all working on the Jimmy Graves complex. And got to know Eric. He kind of took me under his wing because I had to get to know the other citizens of Vero Beach, which are not just adults who vote, but the children that occupy our city. So with that, Eric introduced me to a lot of the students, got to go to some games, and got introduced to the Fighting Indians on the field, which was a great experience for myself. So because of that, the city of Vero Beach, just like to issue the certificate of appreciation, the city of Vero Beach hereby wishes this certificate to Eric Seymour in recognition and appreciation of his commitment to the city of Vero Beach and to the Indian River Colony while serving as Assistant Superintendent of Student Affairs Advocacy in the access of the School District of Indian River County. We wish him a happy retirement with the best of luck in his future endeavors. We now hereby present this token of our gratitude, 9th day of December 2024. And last but not least, we would also like to give you the key to the city.
Wow.
At this time, I'll ask our school board chair to read into the record a proclamation from Debbie Mayfield, I believe.
Yes. She must really like you, Eric. It's long. All right. It's called a tribute from a member of the Florida House of Representatives. A tribute to Mr. Eric Seymour in recognition of his retirement. Whereas throughout Mr. Seymour's educational service of more than 20 years, he has served as assistant principal of Vero Beach High School and of Lincoln Park Academy, and served as principal of Northport Middle School, Vero Beach High School, and Oslo Middle School before he transitioned to student services. And whereas Mr. Seymour enhanced student attendance through data-driven strategies and interventions, which led to his appointment as the Director of Advocacy, Athletics, and Student Activities, and subsequently becoming an active member of the National Association of Secondary School Administrators. And whereas since 2021, Mr. Seymour served as the School District of Indian River County's Assistant Superintendent of Student Affairs, Advocacy, and Access, where he strengthened partnerships with families, the community, and local businesses in Indian River County. And whereas Mr. Seymour's service to the community extends beyond education. He served as the founder and the director of Hear My Story on the executive boards of the St. Lucie County United Way and the St. Lucie County Chamber of Commerce, as chairman of the Data Board of Directors, as past vice chairman of the Indian River County Education Foundation Board of Directors, and as a life member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. And whereas throughout Mr. Seymour's career, he was recognized as the 2003 Assistant Principal of the Year for the state of Florida, was selected as a member of the Florida Chamber of Commerce's Class 20, and was featured in numerous national education publications. Now, therefore, be it respectfully proclaimed that Mr. Eric Seymour is honored for an exemplary career within the School District of Indian River County, and sincerely thanked for his service to the community and the state. Signed, Debbie Mayfield, Representative District 32.
So before I present Mr. Seymour for his remarks, I'd like to afford the board members the opportunity to say a few words.
You want to start down there, Ms. Rosario?
Sure. Mr. Seymour, I just wrote down some words that just kind of came to me. As I think about you, I think about the man of integrity that you are. And so I see you as, I've always seen you as a giver, someone who always puts others first, a hero in the community, a peacemaker, because that's exactly who you are, someone who builds bridges wherever there can be a built bridge, a compassionate, purposeful believer, a man of faith, a husband, a family man. You are full of love and forgiveness. It just spews out of you. Someone who is an incredible educator, an advocate, a mentor. Someone who patiently endured years of success and years of some turmoil and some uncertainty there for a little while. And like Job, waited for restoration. For all that the enemy meant for harm, the good Lord has turned around for good. Congratulations on your retirement. You are going to be missed. Your gift and what you bring to children, to the education field, to the district, cannot be replaced. so you will leave a void. But I am happy for you as you embark on this new journey, and I will pray for you and your wife, who is always so sweet and pleasant, and I know that you guys are going to have the best years still to come. Congratulations.
Dr. Koska?
Well, Mr. Seymour, I don't think I can compete with all the kind words that have been spoken today. But I want to say that getting to know you the last 2 years, it's been really remarkable, and it's been a big honor to work with you. I remember my first day, even on orientation, instantly you were like the first person I gravitated towards and liked, because I could just tell you had a good heart, and I liked you. So you're going to be really missed by me, but obviously this whole district is going to miss you a lot. But I'm sure you got other work to do in the area, so look forward to continuing to get to know you over the future.
Dr. Jones?
Mr. Seymour, we've known each other over 30 years. I think the first time we truly worked together when I was principal at Gifford Middle and you were an attendance officer and worked with me and the entire school. I think about what I'll miss when you're not here. I will miss your calmness. I will miss your integrity and your professionalism. Every single day you will see that. You were always there for students and parents, and you always listened. And I think half the battle is when you're talking to parents to make sure you listen. And you had a wonderful ear, and your response was always very professional. You know, you are truly a servant leader in what you do, not only in your daily life, but in your professional life, and you exude that every single day. I'm not going to say goodbye. I'm just going to say see you, and I love you and Vicki, and I hope you have a wonderful retirement.
Diane?
Well, I feel like I really missed out on something terrific. I have not known you as long as the others, but from having met you and worked with you briefly and from hearing tonight, it's a big empty space in the school district right now, and I really want to thank you for what you've done for kids, for the community, and for everybody in the school district. And again, I wish you and Vicki the best, and enjoy retirement. But you were missed, and I missed out on something great, so I'm sorry I didn't get to know you longer. Thank you.
Eric. I remember when I went to a coaches meeting at Vero Beach High School. I was the new golf coach, and I looked over and I thought, there's a lot of coaches here, but there's one that really stands out above everybody else. And I went over and you know, introduced myself, and from there on out, you know, we've known each other for years and just respect you so much. And then, of course, I went down to St. Lucie. I followed you down there, and I was a baby principal when you were a principal, so that was kind of fun to go through that as well. But it's going to be a big loss for this district because you do a lot for helping parents. And, you know, I look at your shoes and I think literally and figuratively, who's going to fill those? If you don't know what I mean, look at Eric. You know, golf buddy, I'm going to see you on the golf course, I'm sure. And I really appreciate you letting me play with you because, you know, you've got a lot to offer, and you can hit a very long drive. It's really fun to watch. It doesn't always go straight, but it's a lot of fun to watch. I challenge you to come back and mentor. We need people like you to come mentor. Mentor our teachers, mentor our leaders, mentor our kids. And just remember, in the future, Vicki's the boss.
So, Mr. Seymour, this will be, he's not retiring yet. He's got another 3 weeks in the system. And he said multiple times that he will continue to give 100% until his absolute last day. And he absolutely 100% means it. He will not just ease on out the back door, fully committed to his work. And a lot of people would just ease on out the back door. And Mr. Seymour may be retiring, but at the end of the day, Eric's like my family. And when you take your wife and you move to a place that you grew up and was born in and worked in, and you come to a new place where you know nobody, that's scary. That's scary. But Vicki and Eric have been my brother and my wife's brother and sister. And an absolute courageous person who knows what leadership is about. Give him the areas of responsibility, support the heck out of him, and he will go and transform. So as he retires, the success of this system, the success that I have had here, would not be the same without your commitment, your advocacy for our students, being the voice of reason, pushing back to say, well, we have to do this for our students, or, slow down a little bit, you're going too hard. Just an outstanding person who's fully committed to this community. I know you're staying in the community, but I really hope the community understands the person that they have in Mr. Eric Seymour. So ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Seymour.
Boy, this is going to be a tough one. But I just got to say, too, that the encouragement for me was to see other people thrive. If you're doing well, so am I. And through the chair, I need to personally thank each and every one of you because you stuck behind me. And your backing has been instrumental in the significant progress that we've made within the last few years. You never questioned me. You gave me the support. And if you didn't like something, you told me to go get information, whatever you needed, but you supported me all the way. Also, my deepest gratitude to Dr. David K. Moore. It's good to have a boss that you can drink with and have fun, and it just says a lot about him and the character. He'll curse you out in a minute, excuse me, but it's all in fun. And to have someone that you work for, that you enjoy being around, is special. Never, it's just the type of work environment that you need because the pressures are there. And he didn't ever beat down on us, never punched us. But when he wanted something done, he didn't play. And we knew how to move, but he had a way of delivering that to us. And for that, I'm forever grateful. A special thanks to my cabinet colleagues and their spouses who shared memorable times, whether on the golf course, fantasy football leagues, or simply enjoying laughs over a shot of Sarah, root beer. And so I just want to say, Dr. Jacobs, if I ever had a motherly figure in this building, it would be Dr. J. Dr. Jacobs is the most patient. Now, one thing about it, you know, she laughs when things are funny, but when she's mad, she also laughs. So it took me a little while to figure that out. But the difference was, when it's funny, she's, you know, her normal color. But when it's funny and she's mad, it's red. So I got it. It took me some years to figure it out. But I can say, you know, I'm very grateful for all that you've done for me. And when you listened to me and you gave me opportunity to actually master my craft and do a better job. So I thank you for that. Beth, it's on your shoulders. But I tell you this, you pick up the phone, whatever I can do, I got you 100. Whatever I can do for you, I got you. And I appreciate the times that we've had together. And I thank you for it. Bruce Green, that is, we gotta applaud this dude. You know, to hear dude come in here, and today we're at workshop, and Bruce is talking about a bus like he's a mechanic. Who can do that? I mean, he's, you know, just, and as sharp as he is, he's just as friendly and giving. What a wonderful guy. And Bruce, you know I got you. I appreciate you. Okay, now my talking buddy. When we had times that we needed to talk about where we were, what's going on, how do we get out of it, it was Kelly Basura. And we've had many discussions. And for that, I am so grateful. And I hope that as our families grow, we continue to grow as well in our bond. And I thank you and I appreciate you for that. Dr. Shafty, you know, she puts everything together for us. When we can't figure it out, we just go to Dr. Shafty. You know, she puts it together. And the times that, you know, we've had, and I'm very proud that that's one of my top hires right there. I'm just so grateful for that. But what a great job you're doing. And you continue that great work. And I'll be in support of you, 100%. And also, I just have to mention, you know, the families, Bill Basura, Matt Shafty, Julie Green, Britt Maddox, Dr. Brian McMahon, and the wonderful Mrs. Jennifer Moore. They were all family, and I appreciate that. Thank you. And I have to, you know, call out my department, you know, because I could tell you, we had some battles, but what a resilient group of people who've done a wonderful job, never back down. Whenever there's any type of issue to resolve, we resolved, and there was never any question about it. So whenever I gave my team a directive, no feedback, go do it. And that's the best team that you can have. 100% supportive, very sharp, and very, very involved in their craft and their jobs. And they do a wonderful job because they want to be best by children. And it's not that we need a badge. It's because that's why we're here. It's because of children. So I got to call my department. And if you hear stand, if you know, some of them may not be here today, but I got to do that. Student Affairs, Advocacy and Access Department, and teams, please stand if you're here. Lisa Colon, Coordinator of Health Services. Lisa here? She's not. Sarah Ainge, Coordinator of Mental Wellness. Stand up, Sarah, please. Dr. Tracy Crawford, Coordinator of Threat Management. Mrs. Heather Holden, Director of Student Services. Mr. John Teskey, Director of Safety and Security. And I consider myself his uncle. Dr. Deborah Taylor Long, she's having surgery tomorrow, so she's prepping for that. And she is the Director of Extended Learning. Dr. Daphne Matthews is taking care of her mom tonight. She's Director of Exceptional Student Education. And Mr. Wilford Hart, you know, he's recovering from surgery. So that team, thank you. I couldn't have asked for a better team. And again, I want to thank the board and Dr. Moore for entrusting in me to lead that team. Also, my former teachers, I have to thank them at Vero Beach High School, Oslo Middle School, Lincoln Park Academy, Northport K-8, Northport Middle. I wouldn't have done anything without them. I had great support, and I appreciate each and every person there, every teacher, every staff member, every custodian. They did a wonderful job for me. A heartfelt thanks to our community partners, including but not limited to Mrs. Debbie Mayfield and Mr. Robbie Brackett, Mr. Ray Oglethorpe and Mrs. Barbara Hammond of the Learning Alliance, Mrs. Marie O'Brien of the MCAN, my cousin Freddie Woolfolk and Miss Angelia Perry of Gifford Youth Achievement Center, our county commissioners. We have our commissioner here, Mr. Fletcher, with us tonight, and I thank him very much for his support and encouragement. As well, my mayor, Mayor Katubno, I need to say a little something just right quick. We always travel to, not always, but we travel to games together, and we decided to go to Palm Bay, and so I took him, you know, on the sideline. We watched the game and whatever. Game is over. So as you go into that stadium, you come out, it's a little, you know, road going north, and it's another little road going south. And the one that we were on should have been south. So when I left out of the stadium, I saw him getting into his car, and I pulled out, and I went, you know, down the road just to make sure he turned behind me. He turned the other way. So now I'm sitting up, it's like 15, 20 minutes. So I'm about to press 911 here because I didn't know where he was. But, and I didn't want the headlines to say Eric Seymour loses the mayor. But anyway, he turned around and came on through. And man, what a great friend, and I appreciate him very much. Also, my data partners, I'm the chair of the Data Board of Directors, and we have some of our visitors here from John Fowler, CFO, and stand up and be recognized. These guys came from Palm Beach tonight. I thank you all. Thank you. And a special thank you to Sheriff Flowers and all of the support that he has provided. And I must say, too, I need to call a couple names, and I see Captain Abalo here. You know, he's our new captain now over SRDs, and we want to thank him for the work that he's doing. In addition to that, I need to call a few more just to say thank you. Teddy Floyd, we got, let me see, Captain Partee, Lieutenant Dixon, Sergeant Finnegan, Sergeant Shepard, Sergeant Smith, Sergeant Garrison, Sergeant Farless, and just to say, and Deputy Welsh, thank you, because I know we're in good hands. And the relationship that we've built, I want it to continue, because I don't think it's ever been a time that we've had such a great relationship like we do now. We're like spot on. We know whenever there's an emergency, we know exactly what's going to happen. And it doesn't take long. And I tell you this, these guys react very fast, and they do a great job. And Captain Abalo, I just want to say thank you for your work. And I know I need to also thank Captain Milo Thornton. He was the former captain prior to Captain Abalo, who we've worked with for a period of time. I need to also thank the speakers who came, Mrs. Jerry Smith and Mr. Teddy Floyd, and Marie O'Brien. And to have Dr. A. Ronald Hudson in the presence, speaking on my behalf. There's no better reward. Thank you. To our community members of my wife's church, Mount Zion AME, and my church, Pastor Davis, and always in support of us. They've been there from, day one, and they are always supporting us in every endeavor. And I want to be very frank about that. They are there when you need them. A special thank you to my fraternity brothers. I see my fraternity brother here, Mr. Charles Frazier. We are doing some work, and we continue to push for scholarships in Tri-County area. But now that I'm good friends with the Learning Alliance and MCAN, what we want to do is focus on third grade reading in this county and the Tri-County area. So we're going to push for that. I see Councilman Fred Jones here. Please stand and be recognized too. Thank you. Vice Mayor. I think I surprised, normally I go out and do a little shooting here and there, but when I met Fred, that was the first time that I've ever gone out and tried to shoot, but he had confidence in me, so he just gave me a 38 revolver and just said, here, go at it. So I'm like, wow, what a gift, but thank you, I appreciate you. And Miss Sarah Millman. My executive assistant. Hold on. Your loyalty and commitment have been extraordinary. Thank you for always keeping me balanced and on track day in and day out. She never quits. And if I could sum up our work with a quote, it would be, hard days often hold the seeds of the most rewarding triumphs. It's through perseverance that challenges turn into achievements. And that was every day for us. Give me an angry parent, and I'll show you a parent that cares. And I was 99% proficient on that. And I believed in every parent. There's no bad parent. Parents need help. And so that was my goal, and that's the way I did my job each and every day. Also, like I say, I need to thank those parents and to the parents who welcomed me into their lives, and thank you for allowing me to turn your challenges into achievements. And to my mother, Jarrell, and my family here, my immediate family, of whom I owe more of my time. I have my mother-in-law here, Dolores. Thank you, Dolores. You've always been there, and extremely grateful with all of your support. Thank you. And finally, to my wife, Vicki, my new CFO, which stands for caring, fun-loving, and open-hearted. You're my rock. My energy and my constant source of encouragement. I appreciate and love you for all that you've done. Like I say, I was a little raggedy when I started. She's kicked me into shape. But for all of the administrators, and I see we have Brooke here, we have Mr. O'Keefe, we have Mr. Hart here, all administrators. I see Mr. Keene. Could you stand? Any administrators in the room? Mr. Stiles here. Thank you. These people put in the work each and every day. And like I say, it has to be a leader that has a vision. And Dr. Moore, sometimes we think he's talking a little crazy. But back when he was talking about the A, he said, there's no reason for this county to be a C county, a C school district. He said that. And then he said, this is how and what we need to do. He pushed those administrators, and we got that first A. And then the crazy part was, and we're going to get it again. And he did it. And it was through these people that dedicate their time each and every day. And I want to say thank you for supporting me, and anything that I can ever do for you, do not hesitate. Give me a little time, though, if it's something, rough. But again, to all of you and everyone, thank you, and I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you.
Okay, friends, join us. That's pretty much everyone, right? Family and friends, everybody.
That's the whole room.
Oh, come on.
I'm too short.
Squeeze in.
Yeah, one more.
Yay.
All right.
Put you on the road.
Ready? 1, 2, and 3. Awesome. Get it. Go to the cabinet.
Oh, careful.
That was a good
Okay, we're going to take a 5-minute recess.
No, he's doing one more. You're
Oh,
doing
you got one
cabinet.
more? Oh, one more. I'm sorry. Dr. Moore, stand up.
I think that's it. 5 minutes then? Okay. Just stretching.
Okay, we're going to take a 5-minute recess. Now time for citizen input. So I have the guidelines for citizen input. These are the guidelines. According to School Board Policy 0169.1, each statement made by a member of the public shall be limited to 3 minutes in duration. I will be recognizing in the order in which the requests were received. The time shall start when the speaker is at the podium. Public Information Officer will be the official timekeeper, and as you can see, the time clock is visible to your left on the dais. You will hear a beep at the end of your 3 minutes. Each person may speak for up to 3 minutes at the beginning of the business meeting during citizen input as indicated on the order of the business, and for up to 3 minutes to each action agenda item during the action agenda as indicated on the order of business. If a consent item is moved to an action item, when you come up to the podium, you may speak at that time, or you can defer to speak during the presentation of that action item. People may only speak once about any given item. The time period may be extended by the presiding officer, and only the individual submitting a speaker's form is allowed to address the board. Time may not be yielded to other speakers. During the meeting, please refrain from clapping or outbursts of any sort so that we may proceed with dignity and decorum by not infringing on any individual's First Amendment rights. All statements shall be directed to the chair. No person may address or question board members or the superintendent individually. Board members may or may not address any citizen input statements at the end of all the citizen input comments. As board members listen to citizens without interruption, citizens are asked to please give board members the same respect. As per Florida Statute 1001.372 subsection 3, the presiding officer may order the removal from a public meeting held by the district school board or any person interfering with the expeditious or orderly process of such meeting, provided such officer has first issued a warning and that continued interference with the orderly processes of the meeting will result in that removal. The first warning is to everyone at this time: no personal attacks, no inciting, and no disrespect, please. I will be calling you up 2 at a time. The first person will be called to the podium to speak, and the second person will be in line to speak. Speakers shall not engage in personal attacks or abusive language. The chair has the right to terminate any speaker's privilege to address the board if that rule is violated. If you have anything to give to board members or to the superintendent, please do that through our executive secretary, Mrs. Morey. She's right here. All right, I'm going to call you in order. The first person is Margaret Murray, and on deck will be Melissa Kells-Burdick.
Good evening, members of the board, Dr. Moore, and community members. I'm Margaret Murray, Vice Chair.
Hold on 1 second. Is the microphone on? Is it turned on? Look and see. There we go.
Good evening, members of the board, Dr. Moore,
Did you start
and
your
community members. I am Margaret Murray, Vice Chair of the Education Champions, Advocates for Public Education. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the 2 tremendous honors that have been awarded to our superintendent, Dr. David Moore. All are well-deserved recognitions, especially after achieving back-to-back A ratings for our district. These are no small feats, and I commend Dr. Moore for his work. Of course, we also recognize the incredible efforts of our teachers, support staff, and administrative team, all of whom shared in Dr. Moore's awards and our district's excellence. We are equally happy to add our congratulations to Eric Seymour for his dedication and hard work in making Indian River County so successful. I also want to highlight the board's recent decision to align Dr. Moore's salary with market value. This was a timely and insightful move, recognizing him before others took notice. It was a smart, forward-thinking investment in our district's future and a good use of our tax dollars. Next, I'd like to welcome David Dyer and Dr. Peggy Jones back to the dais. Their overwhelming win with 57% of the vote in August speaks volumes about the confidence this community has placed in them. The people of Indian River County decisively chose Dyer and Jones to represent us. It's important to respect that choice. Let's remember that the work doesn't end with the election. We need to see respect, cooperation, not divisiveness, name-calling, petty antics, or attempts to undermine the electorate's choice. This is not who we are as a community, and it certainly isn't what the people voted for. It needs to stop. Finally, as we are in the season of kindness and gratitude, I urge all of you to lead by example. As elected leaders, it is your responsibility to represent every resident, every child, and every parent in this community, not just those who share your views. Please allow Dr. Moore to do his job and his dedicated team of professionals to continue doing theirs without unnecessary distractions or obstacles. Thank you.
Thank you. Melissa Kelsberg is next. Arlene Jamison is on deck.
Good evening. A naughty and nice reflection as we close out the 2024 year. Number one on the nice list is the A school rating that we have in our very own super of the year. Naughty is the loss of 300 students since the beginning of the school year. Nice that the school choice seems to have the wind at its back in a nationwide sprawl, but naughty is the final report from the Select Subcommittee on the Corona pandemic that concluded the science never justified school closures, children being experienced historic learning loss, psychological distress, and decreased physical well-being. Further, schools remain closed longer than necessary because the teachers' union political interference in the CDC school reopening guidance. You were all mailed a copy of that report. Nice that along with the Daddy Warbucks pay raise, Dr. Moore, you will be following through with the first of its kind classical public school. It's going to be on next year's naughty list if you water down the curriculum, place semantics with the promise, and omit the word classical from the school's name. Nice that the cliched white supremacist chirp was hurled at the school board member who came in second place, while the first place school board member seems to have a racist fetish against the only female minority on the school board. Naughty that the Marxist DEI and the castration caucus achieved so much damage the past few years. Nice that it will DIE in the upcoming months, and the castration caucus is being beat back by the Supreme Courts throughout the nation. Third grade reading levels are at 63%, which is very nice. Though not quite naughty, there has been no gain on this investment by the Learning Alliance to reach the 90% goal since its inception. So why does it remain around the 60% mark? And why do these gains drop after the 7th grade? Is it the ratio of interaction that is the meat and potatoes of the program? And if so, this is something we need to look at and restructure for the rest of the district because something's going on there. Nice that the most recent school board member argued on behalf of the NAACP for the removal of the person on the defendant's team. Naughty that this is a very public demand by the plaintiff to change the defendant's representative and has plausibly spoiled the case. Nice that the Leviathan Department of Ed has a chance to be dismantled, money stay in the states, and teachers have freedom based on local needs and not federal mandates. Nice that our very own Moms for Liberty co-founder made the short list to be the Secretary of Education under the new administration. Naughty that there is no public acknowledgement that Ms. Justice and others were correct about the inefficiency of masks and the arbitrary, cruel design of social distancing. Nice that 70% of Americans agree that transsexuals should participate in sports of their biological sex, and Title IX's intent will be protected. Nice that the porn book warriors finally have a name, but naughty that their efforts to fight for First Amendment don't include the right to say no to porn in public school libraries.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
Arlene Jamison.
Happy Hanukkah and Happy Kwanzaa too.
Arlene Jamison is next. Trinity Marsh is on deck.
Good evening. Probably tired of hearing it already, but congratulations to you, Dr. Moore.
Oh, yeah, put the mic
Better?
closer.
Congratulations to you, Dr. Moore, for being awarded Florida Superintendent of the Year and Star Superintendent. And these wonderful accolades follow 2 years of A ratings. The vision, dedication, and leadership that you have displayed in just a few short years, though they may not have felt so short to you, I don't know, have put Indian River County on the map in a most positive way. But of course, as the chair said, it does take a village. So kudos to the administrative staff, Mr. Seymour, principals, assistant principals, teachers, and students. And certainly to our tireless, hardworking school board for their guidance, perseverance, and always putting our kids first. Not to mention their wisdom in bringing Dr. Moore on board in the first place. So keep on trucking, everyone, and continue doing what you do so well. You're clearly on a roll. Thank you.
Thank you. Trinity Marsh is next. Michael Marsh is on deck.
Good evening. My name is Trinity Marsh. I'm in 8th grade at Oslo Middle School. Go Wildcats, where we are calling our way to an A. Thank you, Mr. Seymour, for always keeping my dad in check and making sure I had all my ESC needs. We will miss you. Next, I want to congratulate my superintendent, Dr. Moore. Dr. Moore, remember, the work is good, the work continues to be good, and their system is in place. I want to welcome back 2 school board members, Mr. Dyer and Doc Jones. Doc, thanks for always being there when I need you. And lastly, each day I'm kept safe by the team of your Indian River County Sheriff, Eric Flowers. Good night.
Chip off the old block there. She did very well. A student speaking for the first time, it's tough, so good job. All right, Michael Marsh is next, and Jennifer Pippin is on deck.
Good evening. I don't bring you a naughty list, but 'tis the season. First and foremost, tonight I'll wear a couple hats, but I only have one shirt. Sorry, Dr. Moore. But first and foremost, Thanksgiving. Over 1,500 meals. And this school district, thanks to this thankful day of giving, we were able to pull that off. Hundreds of canned goods from the beginning of talking to Dr. Began and Dr. Jacobs. So I just want to thank you both and thank the entire, every department here, from cash donations to cans, everything to number 10 cans from the ESC department. They listen. Thank you, Mr. Seymour. And just thank you very much. Through the chair, for those board members, and over 1,500 meals we did. From Hibiscus Children's Center, the Samaritan Center, Hope for Family Center, those children that we both serve. So thank you, through the chair, Dr. Moore, and thank you to the school district of Indian River County. All the way up to transportation, collected items. It was awesome, so thank you very much. And now we'll have to shift hats. No hat tonight, but it's a tough night because the activist in me, there's no Mr. Seymour telling me to be quiet or be good, Dr. Moore.
Well, we're going to work on that.
Nope, there's no one left, sir. But you know something? I heard some words, and all of them are exact echoes of what I could possibly say. From the beginning, you know, even people who I don't even like love Mr. Seymour. That speaks volumes, and no matter who those people are, that we all shared a common denominator, that he listens. And there's a difference of hearing when people speak and listening of a parent. And that's what Mr. Seymour always did. Even when I was nuts and I said, I don't want to hear it, Mr. Seymour, I'm going for the entire Oslo Middle School. Hey, let's talk about it. Let me get this person. And I forgot when I was even upset because of this man. And so it's tough, Mr. Seymour. I don't know what ESC is going to do. It's going to be rough, sir. But I want to thank you. Because each and every time, no matter what it was, whether it was for Trinity or those students who just needed cheer uniforms, there's so many things that this man has done that we don't even know about. You know how many at Oslo Middle School wouldn't even have cheerleading clothes? And it's such simplicity of, they're going to fill this out. There wasn't, no, we're going to wait a couple weeks and hopefully these kids are going to get uniforms. These parents at those Title I schools knew that they had someone fighting for them, and that's Eric Seymour. And I think we forget of how many things behind the scenes that this man has done. I would have been at way more meetings, Dr. Moore. It would have been way rougher in the last couple of years. This man made me stay home a few nights. It was probably a good thing. Sheriff's office. But in closing, Mr. Seymour, all kids, when I hear Dr. Moore say best by kids, you, sir, are a prime example. It's like when you go to church and you get to see that pastor that's out there providing those homeless meals, and they're actually doing what they're called upon from God. That's a heck of a correlation, but that is you, Mr. Seymour. I love you, we miss you, and take care of yourself.
Okay, Ms. Pippin is next, and Jennifer Freeland is on deck.
Good evening. My name is Jennifer Pippin, and I'm the proud chairman here for Moms for Liberty in River County. And so many kind words about Eric Seymour. I could probably spend 3 hours talking about how many people he's impacted, from families and children. But I'm going to tell you the first time I ever spoke to Mr. Seymour, and he was probably smiling because he remembers. Maddie, she was a freshman at Vero Beach High School. And she passed out in PE because her coach made her wear a mask. And when her mom called, the coach said she needs to get a mask with a respirator or she can't be in my class. This was 2020, August of 2020, after we opened up schools after the pandemic. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know anything about school boards. I didn't know anything about public speaking, but I called the school district and wanted to advocate for this mom. And I was connected to Eric Seymour. Eric Seymour called that mom. She was about to pull her daughter out of school because of what happened. And Maddie graduated from Vero Beach High School this May 2024, thanks to Eric Seymour. There was problems with the restroom in Oslo Middle School. There was a boy going into the bathrooms, and girls were going to the restroom and urinary pads because this boy was occupying their restroom. I called Eric Seymour. We found out there was an LGBTQ administration guide within less than 24 hours, and we solved that here with the school district, talking to Eric. I can name probably 3,000 of these kind of stories, and this man, everything that everybody said, being a man of integrity, kind, humble. Listen to his speech. He didn't talk about himself. He talked about the people up on the dais. He talked about the people that he works with. He talked about the people that he went to school with. That's the kind of man Eric Seymour is. And we are at a grave loss in this school district. And I'm going to repeat what Mrs. Berenborg said. We're not saying goodbye. We're just saying goodbye from this position for now. Please, we don't want to lose you from this community, and we appreciate you. Dr. Moore, congratulations on your awards. I've done many, many, many interviews. Our relationship was kind of rocky in the beginning, but I think like any relationship, you have to put work into it, and it's been grand the past year. So December 2024, thank you for everything that you've done for students, families, staff, everybody in this school district. It's well deserved. And I know it's only going to get better. We started around the same time you got hired, and I started coming to school board meetings after schools opened back up with COVID, so we've grown together. But I just wanted to say also thank you to the staff and everything. Merry Christmas.
Okay, Jennifer Freeland is next. Anthony Brown is on deck and will be our last speaker.
You'll be happy to see I have a script. Good evening to the board, Dr. Moore and Cabinet. First, congratulations to Dr. Moore. This is a well-deserved award. Thank you for being open to doing things differently. We didn't have a lot of choices, though, considering we started when COVID.
Exactly.
Yeah, we had to learn fast. However, I'm sticking to it. However, thank you for not just talking about the importance of teachers on student achievement, but for acting on it. Working with us to create a partnership with teachers, even through some very painful growing pains. For making sure that Stronger Together always included teachers. Thank you. And Mr. Seymour, there's nothing I can say that hasn't been said, except you'll be deeply missed by everyone. At this time of year, as always, I want to take a minute and thank the teachers, all of them, teachers on assignment, teachers in the classroom every day, and all the teachers in between. Thank you for all you do from the very bottom of my heart. Please take some time for yourself and your family, and please get a few naps in. Thank you to the board, Dr. Moore and Cabinet, for all you do. Merry Christmas, or warmest wishes for whatever that is to you. Happy New Year, stay safe and healthy.
Thank you. Anthony Brown, AKA Tony.
Chairman, you authorized. First and foremost, congratulations, Doc. Congratulations, Mr. Dyer, Dr. Jones, for your return. And to Mr. Seymour, I can let a secret out. Thank you, Eric, for your work on the work group. But also, you all don't know, and I can share it now. Eric is both of my children's godfather. So that's something we've held in abeyance for a while. My real thing is, I've been on, going with the work group, I've been on 3 equity committees. I was on, wasn't a part of one joke of a work group, but I've been on the last work group. And we've made tremendous movement. The biggest 3 stubborn people on that committee is myself, Dr. Moore, and Mashawn. But we've realized that it's bigger than us. We've learned how to operate in that space on behalf of the children and put our egos and our agendas in our back pocket. With the key performance indicators, it has been awesome. And Dr. Moore, you said something that in the last 2 meetings has been somewhat of a confliction to me. You said Dr. Shafty was the genius in the room when it came to all the data and all the data sets and the stuff that we're doing. It appears, I guess, somebody else has taken over second chair. We cannot afford, board, Madam Chair, to go backwards. It is 55 years, and we are now here. I remember, Dr. Moore, it came from the board, not necessarily you all. One board, and I know you was present, is not binding to the next board. I think that you all should do your due diligence and understand that we are moving. We can no longer allow us to be stagnated, and I'm at an age where I can be dead and gone, and we've gone nowhere. 55 years. When this thing started, I was 14 years old. And here we are, and I heard the word racist. I guess it's not racist for us to be told that slavery benefited slaves. I guess it's not racist to have our books and stuff removed from the libraries. I think we need a work group that is compassionate and understanding. Dr. Moore, I know it's going to be awesome trying to replace my brother here, but I think you'll do a good job. And board, make sure that we have what it takes to be successful. As we would say, what's best for children, especially what's best for African American children. Thank you.
Okay, thank you everyone for speaking. Board members, anyone want to comment, or Dr. Moore? No?
I'll just say, Melissa, your speech when you came up here, you mentioned a few things that really were truthful, of course, but I love some of the phrases that you used. And Dr. Moore, I know you're laughing because you need to use them. The super, you have to use that. That was, I don't know where that came from.
I got it.
I love it. And the Daddy Warbucks, that was like, we need a copy of what you just said. I need a copy of what you read, because that was just pretty funny. So we need I don't know, maybe we can have T-shirts or something with that. Buttons, super. That was hilarious.
Anyone else? Okay. All right. We are to the consent agenda approval. I need to call for a motion to approve the consent agenda items as amended.
So moved.
Second.
Dr. Posca? Dr. Jones? Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes 5-0. All right, so we are to the items pulled from consent to action. I believe there was nothing pulled this time. Wow. All right, action agenda. We are to 8A. That is, this item deals with Pelican Island K-8 expansion and the student transition plan. Dr. Moore, have you documented that this public hearing was properly advertised in accordance with state statutes?
Yes, ma'am.
We now recess this meeting to conduct the public hearing as advertised. The public hearing is now in session. Dr. Moore, are there any written responses to the advertised public hearing to be read at this time?
Not at this time.
Okay, the public is invited to address only this issue at this time. There was a speaker that asked to speak, Jennifer Pippin.
Good evening again. Thank you very much for continuing this conversation. I know you guys are looking into names and following the process and doing everything like that. Our school district is in a severe decline in enrollment. We know this. Dr. Morris documented it. So we do have to think outside the box. We do have to look at this K-8. A lot of parents filled out the surveys. They're interested in it. And what I've noticed is, when you look at the numbers over the past couple of years, every time there is sometimes the news calls it a culture war, I call it an issue. So like COVID, we lost a lot of children and families after COVID. We lost a lot of families after every time that there's a major issue that goes on in the schools. So I know Mr. Brown brought up books. So when there was pornographic and sexually explicit content books, many families left after that. So every time that there's an issue, families leave, children leave, and those are our customers, the parents and the students. So I hope that with this Pelican Island, we do use the classical model and we do a good classical education model curriculum. So this way we can bring more families and get more families engaged, maybe pull from homeschool families or private institutions or new families moving here that are interested in being in either a classical model or a K-8 model. So I thank you for your work, and I look forward to hearing what the name's going to be and having this implemented next year for students. Thank you.
Okay, any other speakers wish to speak? Do you want to speak, Mr. Marsh? I was surprised that you didn't.
Michael Marsh, newly elected CSAC Grant Subcommittee member. Have a great holiday.
Okay, thank you. It had nothing to do with what this item is, though, sir. Okay. All right. I'm going to conclude that the announced public hearing then for Pelican Island K-8 expansion and student transition plan has been conducted pursuant to notice. An ample opportunity to address this issue has been provided to all. The board meeting is now reconvened at this time. I'd like to call for a motion to approve the Pelican Island K-8 expansion and student transition plan. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Jones, Pasca. Any discussion on this item? Ms. Rosario?
Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate two concerns that I had before and that I still have, is that the name of the school has not been solidified. I don't know where we are in that process, but the plan that was provided for us has about 5 different names for the school in different places. That doesn't settle well with me. If we're going to have a plan, we need to have a name. And, of course, the commitment to the classical curriculum. And not that we have a commitment to the tenets of classical, where we would, in that case, pull supplemental material and supplement current curriculum with classical, pieces of classical information, cherry pick it from here and then add it and so on and so forth. That's not the classical model. The classical model is using traditional classical curriculum throughout the entire process. It's not, this isn't something new, but other than that, this was, of course, my proposed item. I brought it forward because I thought it was a need for our community. I'm glad to see that the board has supported it and that the superintendent and Dr. Shafty has done all that you have done so far with this. Moving forward, I am excited to see how this is going to unfold in the school opening. I did not approve this for those 2 reasons or vote in favor of this for those 2 reasons 28, 30 days ago, whenever it was last brought to us before the public hearing. I will support it tonight, but I have serious concerns about the name. I will say that in today's strategic plan presentation during the workshop, the name that was provided on the screen was Pelican Island Classical Magnet. So it's like we have that name, but then in the plan itself, we don't have consistently that same name throughout the entire, plan. So I have concerns. So I'll just go on the record and say, those are my 2 concerns. Again, I will support it tonight. because I'm hoping that that will change. I'll be disappointed if it doesn't, but moving forward, I'm excited at what is ahead, because we need it. We need to think outside the box, and we need to have something new, obviously, in our community. Looking forward to supporting it.
Any other board members? Dr. Jones?
Thank you, Dr. Moore, for the attachment for this information. I thought it's great information. I've asked several times if teachers wish to stay, they can stay. Parents who are already there, they have the first choice. So I enjoy making sure that, like we didn't do in the last magnet schools, where parents have the right to choose. As far as, and stay at the school. And as far as a name, I think we're all excited to get that done. We just obviously have to follow the policy. And when was the timeline when you were meeting with parents, Dr. Moore? Sorry.
Through the chair, when we come back in January, we'll establish and follow that as soon as we have parents who are enrolled in the school.
Thank you. I thought it was January. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. Yes, thank you for following policy on that. We appreciate it. All right, I'm going to call for the vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? It passes 5-0. Okay, action agenda 8B, public hearing for the adoption of new school board policy 2750, board commitment to unitary status and annual reporting. On October 21st, 2024, the school board voted to hold a public hearing to adopt new district school board policy 2750, board commitment to unitary status and annual reporting. The purpose of the new policy is to be consistent with the present practice and legislation. The new policy process was followed in accordance with Florida statutes under Florida Administration Procedures Act, Chapter 120, Rulemaking, and School Board Bylaw 0131. This item deals with the adoption of a new school board policy 2750, board commitment to unitary status and annual reporting. Dr. Moore, have you documented that this public hearing was properly advertised in accordance with state statutes?
Yes, ma'am.
We now recess this meeting to conduct a public hearing as advertised. Public hearing is now in session. Dr. Moore, are there any written responses to the advertised public hearing to be read at this time?
Not at this time.
Okay, we don't have anybody that has signed up to speak. Is there anyone here that wishes to speak to this item? The public is invited to address the item at this time. The announced public hearing for the adoption of a new school board policy 2750, board commitment to unitary status and annual reporting, has been conducted pursuant to notice, and ample opportunity to address the issue has been provided to all. The board meeting is reconvened at this time. I'm going to call for a motion to approve the adoption of the new school board policy 2750, board commitment to unitary status and annual reporting. Could I get a motion?
Moved.
Dr.
Second.
Posca?
Second.
I heard Mr. Dyer.
We gotta let him get one in there.
Yeah, he's very quiet. Any discussion?
Yes.
Okay, Doc?
This is nothing new to the board as far as how I feel. You know, 2130 was developed 2 years ago with a 5-0 vote with the board, and then it was repealed, I believe, at the November meeting. I voted against the repeal, not the revision, but the majority of the vote went to repealing it. That's the way the board voted. I mean, both of these policies begin after unitary status, but there is a significant difference. 2750 does not align itself with the federal court order with black students. I just think it's important that we show in our work group and community will continue to move forward. Many times it's been said, well, this is for all students. And that's absolutely correct. The strategic plan is for all students. So, not that I dislike Dr. Moore's revision, I just think that we're going down a path that's not showing the commitment that we have specifically to all of the components of the joint plan and the federal court order. So I just wanted to say that before the vote.
Anyone else like to speak to it? One thing I'd like to say is thank you for adding about maintaining a positive working relationship with the IRC, NAACP. That was added, so I appreciate that. Thank you. All right, I'm going to call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
No.
Okay, 4-1, it passes. All right, action agenda. C, request to set public hearing date for the adoption of the revisions to school board policies. The purpose of these revisions is to be consistent with federal and state law, the Florida Administrative Code, other regulations by federal and state agencies, and applicable court decisions, and Attorney General's opinions. Policies were revised in conjunction with Neola Volume 25, Number 1, Special Policy Update, and March 2024 Special Policy Update. In order to move forward with the adoption process, a public hearing and adoption of these policies is requested. The changes updates include a total of 69 policies, 53 policies with revisions, 8 with technical corrections, 1 rescinded policy, and 7 new policies, all listed on our order of business on the school board website and in front of board members. I'm going to call for a motion for the approval to set the public hearing for the adoption of the revisions to school board policies.
Make a motion.
Okay?
Second.
All right. Okay, so that's Rosario and Jones. Any discussion? We had a very long workshop
Yeah, very
that
long.
included all of these. So if anybody's questioning what any of these policies are, you can just watch that long workshop today. All right, all those in favor of the vote, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? It passes 5-0. All right, we are to action agenda item D, approval of appointment of a citizen to the Indian River County Metropolitan Planning Organization, MPO, County Citizen Advisory Committee for Transportation, and an alternate for this voting position. This item was brought back for consideration tonight after being tabled in November for legal review. This is a volunteer position that began on September 11th, 2012. The term of this position coincides with the board's organization meeting, and it is a voting position. The CAC meets the second Wednesday of every month at 10 a.m. in the County Administration Building B, Conference Room B1-501. Last year, the position was filled by Mr. Andros as a citizen member. Mr. Andros submitted a yearly report, and board members will vote on both the committee citizen member and an alternative to serve. Okay, so we have names of citizens that applied to serve as committee member or alternate. We just had Mr. Andros, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Is there anyone that asked to be alternate? I thought so. Mr. Marsh, right?
It's in the agenda.
Okay, it's on your agenda, but it's not on my agenda.
Uh-oh.
Okay. Hold on 1 second, sorry about that. I just want to read it into the record.
Yeah, it's there.
All right, Mr. Marsh's alternative. Okay. Okay, I'd like to have someone make a motion to have the names of the citizens, Mr. Andros and Mr. Marsh as alternate.
I make a motion.
Okay,
I'll second.
all right. Dr. Jones, second by Mr. Dyer. And that's for Andros, I'm sorry, I have to do them separately. Now for Mr. Marsh, motion?
So move.
Second.
Okay. All right, any discussion on either one? Okay, we're going to vote for Mr. Andros first. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed?
Oppose.
Okay, it passes 3-2. Mr. Marsh for alternate. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Oppose.
Okay, so it passes,
I'm aye.
I'm sorry?
Aye.
Aye, 4-1, it passes. Okay, so we have a 3-2 vote for Mr. Andros. He will serve as our MPO and appointee, and Mr. Marsh will serve as our alternate. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Okay, action agenda item 8E, approval to rescind the resolution for 2025-06 IRC NAACP work group and set appointment date for a new member. At the November 19th, 2024 workshop, a discussion was held regarding resolution number 2025-06 IRC NAACP work group. Recommendation is made to rescind the resolution and vote to appoint a new board member to the work group in November of 2025. Okay. I believe, Dr. Moore, I'm going to turn this over to you.
Actually, Mr. Dyer is presenting this item.
Okay.
This is an area that I talked about in the workshop that is very important to me, and that it has to do with literacy and the fact that kids can't read in third grade. You know, we've failed generation after generation in this country and in this community of kids because they can't read. If they can't read, they can't succeed. Unfortunately, most of the kids who are struggling readers or can't read are minorities. I think it is very, very important, this issue, that we make progress towards unitary status for African American kids and for all kids, for Hispanic kids, for all kids in the school system who are struggling. This is something that is near and dear to my heart, and I want to make sure that there is success in what we are trying to accomplish, and therefore I think that to appoint somebody for more than their term is not right. And so I have recommended that we rescind the order and maintain the status of the appointment beforehand.
Okay, that is your item. We have one speaker scheduled that requested to speak, Jennifer Pippin.
David Dyer did not have the consensus at the November meeting, and the discussion was to appoint a new member to the committee in April of 2025. Not sure where the disconnect happened in the past couple of weeks with the current resolution. The board had an agreement with the resolution months ago by everyone except for Mrs. Berenborg because she was absent. Mr. Dyer sent the threatening email I read at the last board meeting, and Mr. Dyer also presented his views to the local news station like Mr. Barefoot always did. Mershon Green on the committee we're speaking of for the opposition said that Mrs. Rosario would be gone on November 19th. Somebody told her. Mrs. Berenborg said she would bring this item back. Mrs. Jones flipped her vote after the email that David Dyer sent. Mr. Dyer had the NAACP at his election party. Are these conflicts of interest? If you vote yes to this, the integrity that the work group has, it's been destroyed because of politics. I find it disturbing that Dyer is working with the opposition in a federal court case to go against his current board and the community he represents. The agenda item is to rescind and appoint a new workgroup member in November of 2025. That's exactly what the resolution says that was approved by the board. And it says in additional context in the resolution for the public that doesn't know what the 60-year-old federal case and breaks it down in human form. The workgroup needs to start meeting once a month and make a backup meeting. That's my suggestion. The current member has only had the opportunity to serve 2 meetings since April of 2024, and she hasn't had time to flourish in that position. We are spending $105,000 on average annually from taxpayers, and I think that there should be more focus on that and not who sits on the committee for a year or a year and a half. This is a federal court case, and we shouldn't be fighting with each other and going back on what the previous board voted on, and we should be working more towards closing this with the political NAACP. Thank you.
Okay, we have no other speakers on this. So I'd like to ask for a motion. No? If you did not sign up to speak on this item, this is an action agenda item. It is not an open policy. Sorry.
But you let it for, Madam Chair, point of order, but you let Mr. Marsh do it.
No, I didn't. That was for an open hearing. It was public hearing.
Okay.
Okay, I'm sorry. Public hearing, we can do that. This is not a public hearing. This is an action agenda item that a person needs to schedule to speak. Okay, if I open that door, that's Pandora's box.
Got it.
Okay, so I need a motion for this item, which is recommendation to rescind the resolution and vote to appoint a new board member to the work group in November of 2025.
So move.
Okay,
Second.
all right. Any discussion, board members?
Yes.
Okay, Ms.
Couple
Jones,
of
Dr.
questions.
Jones.
That's right. You know, whether this resolution is rescinded or not tonight, I'm going to ask Dr. Moore to add an action agenda for our January meeting for the board to nominate a board member for DSEG work group. If you look on the April meeting, April 22nd, business meeting agenda, when our new board member went into the work group, it says at the bottom, and this is action item, action agenda, I believe it's C. At the March 18th, 2024 Superintendent's Workshop, it was discussed that the board designee for this work group had previously not been selected by consensus. At that time, the board agreed to revisit the appointment and vote to select a member as a board representative for the SDIRC NAACP work group. The individual will remain on the work group until the next reorganization meeting to be held in November 19th, 2024. That was the action item that was approved by the board. The new person agreed to, so I certainly wasn't going to bring it up tonight because it needs to be 8 days ahead so the public realizes it. We've had some action items brought up when nobody knew they were coming and the public wasn't here to speak. So the April meeting stated that we would vote on that November 19th, 2024. We did not, and I didn't want to put it on the agenda tonight because we didn't have the 8 days notice for the public. So I will be bringing that up in January, but this is the thing that we really need to look at as far as our timeline.
Okay, any other discussion? Board members? Dr. Posca.
It's good. It had its lid on. We're all good. Mr. Dyer, in your opening statements about this policy, you said that you don't think a board member should serve more than their term, which is why you want to remove Jackie earlier than we had decided to do so. But I think it's pertinent that previously the former board member that was on it served, I think it was for over 2 terms. And that's also, additionally, Jackie has only been to 2 meetings. And, you know, by April, maybe a couple more if we're lucky. So it's hard to say that she really served a full term when the parties of the joint agreement are not following the joint agreement and meeting. So that was part of the rationale of extending the term. And then also, if you extend it, it gets us to the next organizational meeting where we want to continue doing the change, you know, so we're on track with the timeline. So in your own remarks, I feel like you're proving a case to why Jackie should stay on it. She did not really get to serve a full term. She's barely been to a meeting. The prior board member that was on it for, it was over, I think, 2 years. So do you mean what you're saying, or are you, I guess, being somewhat disingenuous with what you're saying?
Through the chair.
Through the chair.
Yes, would you like to speak to that, Mr. Dyer?
Yes. You know, if we rescind this order, she will serve until April, which is a full year term. And then, if things are going well, hopefully we'll achieve unitary status by April. If things are going really well, I see no reason that we wouldn't vote for her to be whatever the next term is. So, if this is rescinded, she serves until April, the way I understand it, which is her term.
Okay. Anyone else want to speak?
Well, yeah, that's not what's written here. So what is written here,
No,
that's
it says
not,
to November.
that's not what's.
No, that's what's written in here, right, but if this is rescinded, then it goes back, you're appointed through November, right?
No,
That's
that's
the way it
not what's,
stands. No,
that's
you're
not what's
appointed till
written.
April.
No, that's
Yes.
not what's written on the agenda. What is written on the agenda is that you want to rescind it
Yes.
and make a vote tonight
Yes.
to replace the board.
Yes.
Okay, but that's not keeping me on where I'm supposed to be on there for a year in April. That's different. So which is it?
I want to rescind the resolution
And not vote tonight?
and vote tonight.
That doesn't,
Okay,
that
so-
doesn't, if we rescind it, you just got done saying that if we rescind it, I stay on there until April for the full year.
You were appointed until April, I believe,
Yeah, so what are you voting for then tonight? There's nothing to
to
vote on.
rescind this
No,
resolution.
no. You,
Ms. Rosario, hold on one second. I think what he has on here is to rescind the resolution that was made just recently.
Yes.
2025-06. That one. And then
Yes.
there is an attachment here that is an update. Is that what you're asking to replace it with? Is that what we're looking at? I'm gonna defer to our attorney.
Yeah, would you please help me here?
Through the chair, so what's in the agenda item is that the recommendation would be to rescind the resolution and to vote to appoint a new board member to the work group in November of 2025.
Yeah.
Okay, so not in April, because he just mentioned
I
April.
meant that, well.
Okay, do you want
I
to?
misread it.
Okay, no problem. You can amend the motion then. That's your right as a
I would
board
amend the
member.
motion to appoint a new board member in April of 2025.
Hold on.
Okay, I'm sorry.
April, okay.
You need
So
a-
that's
you
what
need a
you're amending
second.
it for.
Yes, that's what I meant
Okay.
to do. I'm sorry, I misread.
It is, Doc Jones,
So this item of April of this year, where it says we will vote for that person at the November 19th meeting, which I think was just to get it on the committees and the clubs and everything that we're assigned to, so it becomes part of that regular
Yes.
committee that was in November, and that's what's stated on the April 22nd, 2024 agenda. So are we not following that?
no, what we.
okay,
if
so,
you re-
hold on, you are out of order. Hold on. She has the floor, you're asking a question. Who are you asking it of?
Well, the attorney or Dr. Moore, because I
Okay.
did bring that up, because when board member was elected in April, said the next reorg meeting, which would be November 19th of this year, the individual will remain on the work group until the next reorganization meeting in November of 2024. So we've got that, and then we've got something that says November of 2025, so we have a conflict. So I just wanted to say that, because I think it's important the public understands what we're talking about.
We got to understand.
Okay,
Okay.
yes.
So through I think the item before you is to rescind the resolution and then appoint a new board member in November of 2025, which means following, you would have to have an election or make a nomination and select someone who would serve in that role until November of 2025. I think a motion was just made to amend the item to allow Ms. Rosario to stay until April and then conduct a vote in April for a time that I think you would have to identify, in my mind, would go through November. So that is the motion that's being considered right now. What Doc Jones is saying, based on what I'm hearing, is if you rescind the resolution, you fall back on to the initial item that was approved in April, and the April item says you were going to appoint someone in November of '24 that just passed. But you didn't because the resolution was in place. So if you rescind the resolution, and Doc, correct me if I'm not capturing your thoughts correctly, is that we would need to conduct a vote on who would represent the board till next November of 2025.
And the reason I bring that up, Dr. Moore, when we look at our action agendas and we have it printed out like that, I just don't think we can throw it away. However the vote goes, we need to follow what we said we were going to follow. And this one says 2024, the other one says 2025. I think no matter what, we should align it with our organizational meeting, because we're looking at action item here. We're looking at something that we voted on. It's not a resolution, it's something that we voted on. That's why I'm saying that. You know, when we look at policy, you know, school name and everything, I think everybody knows what we want that name to be, but we've got to follow policy.
Okay, so on the table right now is an amendment to the original motion. The amendment is to appoint a new member in April of 2025, have Ms. Rosario serve until then. Is that correct? Mr. Dyer?
Yes, that was
Okay.
what my
Please don't
amendment is.
speak from the floor. Mr. Dyer? Is that
Yes.
correct? Okay. All right. Any discussion on the amendment? Yes, Ms. Rosario?
Not on the amendment, what I was going to mention before. We had this conversation when we had the first workshop before the resolution came to us for a vote. And you actually chaired that workshop.
I remember.
The issue there was that when the vote came to us in April, there was not, because it was something that I put on the agenda, I did not put a November date on the agenda. Dr. Moore put that on the agenda. So that didn't come from me or a board member. That came from Dr. Moore putting that date on there, assuming that that position, I don't know where he got it from, would come to us for another vote in November of 2024. So that's where you're getting that date there, November organization meeting. That's why, in conversation with him, I said, where did this come from? It's rehashing the same thing that we talked about at the last workshop. Where did this come from? Nobody knew where it came from, and I said, well, then I'm gonna create a resolution and see if we can, you know, bring some stability, bring some protocol to this, because you can't just do that. And this position is supposed to be a year position anyway, at least at a minimum. And I brought it to the board, and I said to the board, do you guys want to have me on there for a year or a year and a half? And obviously, there was a deep discussion about it. Everybody had a discussion about it. You and Dr. Posca had, you know, went back and forth on this, and you both, and I said, I'll do the will of the board. If the board wants me to be on there for a year until April, that's fine, but then we'll be off, you know, and then, or whatever. I didn't say anything from that point on. I left it up to the board. The board decided to support me on there until November of 2025, including you, Dr. Jones, including you. And you did say, I'd be happy, you ended that workshop saying, I'd be happy to support this. The November vote was not on the table. You knew very well that it would come the next meeting, not in November meeting. But that aside, so you're asking about that November date there? Nobody knows how that showed up on the agenda.
But it did.
I know, and it was wrong, but I'm not arguing with you. It's just nobody seems to know. It didn't come from me, and so it shouldn't have been there. It should have been a year
There's
position.
a level of
Hold on.
clarity. Oh,
Are
sorry.
you done? Are you done? Are you done?
Yes.
Okay. Dr. Moore?
It came from me. I control the agenda until this meeting starts. We had conversations as to when we would do this, and I think it's pretty straightforward and common sense that you make a appointment through November, because that's the time the board makes the appointment. So it was a decision that I made to say, let's run through December of '24, and then we'll be on schedule. So it was to be done. And then there was the resolution, which eliminated the need to put that on the November 24 meeting, because there was a resolution saying it wouldn't be done until November of '25. What's before you now is to rescind that resolution, and then in April, conduct a vote of all 5 board members, whoever you select, whether you remain the same or somebody different, through November of '25. That's how I understand it.
Okay, Mr. Dyer?
Can I call the motion?
You sure can.
Wait,
You can call for the vote?
I think we have a First Amendment.
Right,
that
he's
was
going to
never
call for a vote on the
seconded.
amendment.
I don't think it was ever seconded.
It was not.
Oh, it wasn't seconded? Okay, so we have an amendment to appoint a new member in April of 2025. Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, so the motion was Mr. Dyer. The second was Dr. Jones. Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed?
No.
Opposed.
Okay, it passes 3-2 for the amendment. Now, going back to the original motion, the original motion as amended, all those in favor, say aye.
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 All those opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Okay.
Okay, that passes 3-2. Okay, so right now, then, that's going to be until April of 2025. Okay. So action agenda item 8F was removed. We are to action agenda item 8G, request to set a public hearing date for the adoption of the revisions to school board policy, excuse me, 0165. On November 19th, 2024, the district school board reviewed and discussed revision recommendations to school board policy 0165 meetings. This item is for the approval to set a public hearing date for the revisions to this policy. There is one speaker, and that is Jennifer Pippin.
I love that somebody from this side of the room said, "Surprise, surprise," as I'm walking up to the microphone. That's not very respectful to someone who wants to speak. I wanted to speak today on this because during your workshop, I watched your workshop, and there was something in this policy that was not discussed, and I don't know if it was just overlooked by accident or if it was left out on purpose. But in this policy, the fourth paragraph, it's highlighted in green. It says the superintendent maintains the discretion to direct staff to alter camera angles for video recordings to address acute concerns related to the safety and decorum of the meeting. Again, this wasn't discussed in workshop, and there was not consensus for this at the last meeting where it was discussed about stifling citizen input and the cameras. So my question to the board and Dr. Moore or whoever's going to be overseeing this, who I know is directing towards the superintendent, but at what point does the superintendent say that the camera cannot be on this person or can be on this person or on this side of the room or not this side of the room? Obviously, our bags are checked before we come in, so there's no imminent threat of, any violence in that way. So if somebody is exercising their First Amendment rights and the superintendent or somebody on the board doesn't want to hear what the person's saying, at what point is the superintendent to change the camera angles? And I also would like to know why this was not discussed publicly in workshop, and maybe you guys were going to do that today, and I'm interested to see the discussion. Thank you.
Okay. So this action item 8G, I need to get a motion for the request to set the public hearing date for the adoption of the revisions to school board policy 0165. Call for a motion.
Motion?
Okay, Dr. Jones, second by Mr. Dyer. All right, any discussion by board members? Ms. Rosario.
Yeah, we talk about having things come to us in workshop before putting something on the agenda. This is something that did not come to us during workshop. We did not give the public enough time or notice to at least hear our discussions on it. But if this is the way that we're going to do business and just throw something on the agenda without the proper protocols, as we have been doing all along, I'm totally okay with that, because the next time that I have an item, I can just put it on an action agenda. But otherwise, I think that, moving forward, we need to be able to respect governance and respect the process of having these discussions during workshop, and then when there is consensus, put it on the agenda. This particular item here, I am not okay with because it is very general. Who gets to do that? The superintendent sits up here. He doesn't get to control the cameras from where he sits. So at what point do we leave it up to Chris? I mean, I think that's pretty unfair of him to be able to be the arbiter of what is acute concern. This says address acute concerns related to safety and decorum. What does that mean? If that's the case, we wouldn't need a chair. Our chair is the person who handles that, according to our policy. if there is an acute concern, whatever that is defined as, because it's not defined here, the chair gavels and takes a pause and is the one who would ask for someone to leave or be dismissed. But in this particular case, I think this is very, very general and either needs to be very specifically identified. Examples, we don't know. I mean, we haven't even discussed it to be able to decide what are acute concerns related to safety and decorum. But we do have that in our policy, and the board isn't, I mean, the chair is responsible for that.
Okay, Dr. Jones?
Well, it was brought up today at our policy changes, and yes, we didn't discuss it before, but we've had some situations where, in fact, one of our citizens was kind of threatened because what a shirt said, and we acted upon that pretty quickly, and that was the superintendent taking that lead on that. You know, he may know some things that we don't know. As board members, we can let him know if we see something that's not appropriate or we fear for safety, but I certainly trust the superintendent. I doubt if this will happen very often, but I certainly trust you on what you need to do to protect all of our citizens. Now, I don't think most citizens come to be on YouTube. They're here to give input, here to talk about an action item, here to just let us, know what they think about everything. And so for that matter, everything seems to be good, but we could have those situations where he may know something before us, and I trust the superintendent to make those decisions.
Yes, Dr. Posca, go ahead.
Yeah. So this policy, the major change is so that initially it was to change the camera angle. Instead of facing the member of the community that's speaking, just to kind of show the back of their head. That was the initial policy, and now it's been changed to basically give the administrative staff the ability to change the camera angle if they so chose, if it's necessary, which might be reasonable. But I think if we just take a step back, historically, there have been people that have consistently argued for stifling like the freedom of speech, whether it be at the prior meeting where we were discussing potentially moving public comment to the end of the meeting after we've already made all our votes, pretty much saying that nothing you say matters to us. There was also, we've had discussions about shortening the duration of discussion. Prior members have discussed and tried to eliminate the cameras altogether, so the individual is not showed on YouTube or the TV. So, what I see is this concerning pattern of consistently trying to stifle public comment. What you brought to us last month, this is a watered down version of it. I don't know why you feel the need to do this at all. I don't know why it matters. But I think it's unnecessary, and it's following a pattern of repeated attempted abuses of people's rights to speak.
Anyone else want to speak? Dr. Moore, would you speak?
No, through the chair, I think there was discussion on this policy, lengthy discussion during the last workshop. It may come back with slightly different language, but it is the summary of that conversation based on what Mr. Dyer is recommending. So it accomplishes two things. If there is something inappropriate that's taking place that's on the screen, staff should have the ability to make changes or modifications without violating school board policy. And I think that's just simple and straightforward. And then also the majority, which you did speak about last time, and as well as this morning. So that's the item as I understand it.
Okay, any other discussion? Ms.
Yeah.
Rosario?
Dr. Moore, I don't know what conversation you were in, but this, even though we talked about this policy in the past, we did not talk at all about camera angles, altering camera angles to address acute concerns related to safety and decorum. So you said slightly, came back to a slightly different, it's completely different. This was not even addressed at all.
Through the chair, I think the conversation, and I said it myself, is can I provide the angles? Can we do it? Do we have staff? Yes. Is it in the weeds? Absolutely. And if it comes back a little bit different, I can think of many times where the board has had conversations regarding policy, and then policy is written, and you're not sitting here going verbatim on what that language would be. You're having a conversation. Mr. Dyer presented these items, listened to the board, and then is coming back based on those conversations with these recommendations. And it's the action of it's the will of the board based on those conversations. So I'm not defending it up or down. I'm just saying, you know, it was discussed at workshop. This specific language, no, I don't think it was discussed, but that's the sum of Mr. Dyer's recommendation.
So let me ask you something, Dr. Moore. How are you going to control the camera angles from where you sit? And what is defined as acute concerns related to safety and decorum? I'd like to know specifically what that means.
So I
Because
think
we need it written in our policy so that it's not misinterpreted later on by any of the staff who are going to actually act on this. It needs to be written in the policy.
So I think that's just micromanage at its absolute highest level.
No, it isn't. What is defined
Madam Chair, you have
as?
the floor.
Yes, you asked him a question, he's
Yeah,
trying to
but it's
answer. Would
not
you let him
micromanaging.
answer, Ms. Rosario, please? Go ahead.
Staff needs to have the ability to run the school system. In this particular case, there was a gentleman who came up here with a Ku Klux Klan sign, and he wanted to put it out and put it in front of everybody. That's an exact example that I can think of that actually happened in this room. If that would happen, and I was home with my children, I would find that inappropriate, and I would not be able to do anything. So it's simply giving me the discretion to run the school system. I think it would be, when you use the word acute, because it's hardly ever going to happen. You do have faces in there. We've had to adjust the layout of the room so we can have people on camera. And I think that is there. The board agreed with that. It's just the level of flexibility. So that would be the best example that I can give.
So you're still not answering acute concerns. You gave an example, but what it should then say, instead of acute concerns, it should say exactly what the chair has the authority to do in case there is a disruption. It needs to say something about to address obscene or vulgar or whatever is legally bound, or whatever the chair is legally bound to address, to stop someone from speaking or to ask someone to leave, but not to use a very generic term of acute concern, because that can be very well misinterpreted, and we shouldn't have any issues with then accusing staff of, turning cameras off and turning cameras on just because. There has to be a reason, and if the reason is legitimate, then I can understand that. If there is a legitimate safety concern, then it has to say that. If there is something obscene, vulgar, if there is something profane, if there's profanity, those kinds of things. But as far as I'm concerned, acute concerns is is not specific enough.
Dr. Moore, I have a question for you. How would you control that really quickly before I could even say anything in the microphone? Because you like the last time we had somebody come up with a shirt on, it was on his back, so I couldn't see it. But you indicated to me that that was happening because one of your employees saw it.
Yeah, and we have a system for everything, in terms of when people are coming in, people who are signing up, their attire. We're just not coming in here and sitting. We're looking at what possibly could happen. So there are 50 things that happen in the course of this meeting that no board member knows, but staff is aware of, I'm aware of, and we are very, very proactive. So once again, this would be a once in a 5-year thing, but to have the ability before you have to gavel out a meeting and have 100 other people say, what's going on, this is happening, that's happening. If we can avoid that ruckus to keep quorum in our meetings based on how efficient and effective staff is, why would we not want to do that? Why would we not want to do that? Because at the end of the day, this is the school board that represents the education of children in our community.
Okay, Doc?
Go ahead.
No,
Oh, I'm sorry, Dr. Pasca?
So, I will say the wording here is pretty open-ended. It gives a lot of wiggle room to this pretty non-specific, you can move camera angles to address acute concerns. What if we got a new person in the control room from FEMA? What would happen then? We get a new hire from FEMA and somebody walks up with a MAGA hat. God forbid. They'd be terrified. They'd have to change the camera angle. Or they have a pro-Trump T-shirt. That FEMA employee, they'd be petrified. They wouldn't be able to look at him on camera. So the problem is the subjectivity of the wording here leaves it open to kind of whatever you want to do. Obviously, if you're using common sense, this can work, but I don't like creating policies that down the line some FEMA worker could use to exploit everyday Americans.
Dr. Jones?
Well, the vote on this is just to go to public hearing, correct?
Correct. We're not approving a policy.
And I understand what all board members have been saying. They have some good points. And I think back to a couple of the things we did have where there was an issue and it was taken care of by staff. Mr. Teskey's usually here. He's always in that other room. But, I trust that it would be used in a manner that is basically for our safety and not violating anybody's First Amendment rights.
Okay, so I'm going to say something because I haven't gotten to talk yet, but the way it's written, it says the superintendent maintains the discretion to direct staff. It wouldn't be the staff doing it. It would be the superintendent directing him to do it. And again, this, like you said, is going to public hearing. It's not like we're deciding this today. We're just saying we're going to set a public hearing date. So there can be a lot more discussion on this as we move forward. Anyone want to do anything?
I'll call.
I'm sorry?
Call the question?
You want to call the question? Okay.
Second.
Okay. So we have the question called, and I'm going to vote. All those in favor for sending it to public hearing?
Aye.
Aye. All those that are against sending it to public hearing?
Opposed?
Nay.
Okay. 3-2, it passes. All right. Discussion. So there were a couple items that were brought up for discussion. I brought up two, Ms. Rosario brought up two. So the first one I brought up was what I attended Friday. First of all, I have to give a shout out to Janet Knupp. She's still here?
No. No, I'm not.
So she represents us on the consortium across the state, and she was at her consortium conference, and it was several miles west of our conference. And she asked me if I could come over on Friday and visit, and I didn't know what I was getting into, but I was so happy that I went because I got to see the Stavros Institute, which is what Pinellas County does for their Education Foundation. And they have Enterprise Village and they have Finance Park, and they're building a STEAM park, part of it. So when I saw it, it reminded me of what I did on my master's. One of my master's papers was on microsociety, which was started in New York City by a public school teacher to excite his kids to learn about their society and about finance and literacy, financial literacy, and about economics and about how to write a checkbook, how to do a resume, all those good things. And so that was my envision for Imagine Schools, but at Imagine, it's not done the same way. When I went to this, I said, this is what I had imagined, and they're already doing it, and they've been doing it for 30 years. So Enterprise Village started in 1989, and it's modeled after the Exchange City, which happened in Kansas City, where fifth graders ran the town for a day. That's what they called it. They ran out of their lease, so they don't have it in Kansas City anymore, but Pinellas is still running strong after 30 years of doing this, actually more, because it's more than that now. Enterprise Village is designed to help students develop basic economic concepts and understand the process between businesses and consumers. Many students consider the program to be one of their most valuable elementary school experiences. To start the process, students spend 6 weeks in their classroom learning about real-world economic topics, such as writing checks, using a debit card, applying for jobs, and more. And then the students go to Enterprise Village for the day, and they put their new skills into practice. They spend about 5 hours there, and the kids were there when I was there, so it was really exciting to see all their excitement about running around the village. And it's located in the Institute, laid out like a shopping mall. There are over 20, I think they had 23 businesses running that day, and the kids all had jobs in the different businesses, even a mayor. There was a mayor in the town. They took breaks and they received paychecks, and then they could use their paychecks to go to the ATM and be able to purchase some things in there. They had a real McDonald's. They could purchase McDonald's food if they wanted. They could go and purchase little items from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers store or the Tampa Bay Rays store or all these different stores that they had. It was really cool. They also had the opportunity to be consumers and all these different storefronts. So they were actually purchasing from each other, and they were learning how to balance everything. And at the end of the day, they had to make sure all their receipts added up and everything else. So they were running a business for the day. So every fifth grader in Pinellas County gets to go to this. They go one day a year when they're in fifth grade. It's for all public schools, all private schools, all charter schools, and all homeschoolers go to it. They have 144 fifth graders for each day, and they need 25 volunteers to run it. And everything's kind of all pre-done. The volunteers go 1 hour before the kids get there. Most of the time, they're parents that are going like on a field trip with their kids, but they go an hour early and they learn what to do. And they can't be in the same store as their child. So that's good because the child can be their own kid that day. They do have a mayor and a city council, so they learn a little bit about civics as well. And they have policemen and mailmen. As a matter of fact, there was one comment I read in the Kansas City one that a child stepped on the grass and got a fine and had to go to court and ask for the fine to be rescinded and learned about how the process is. So there is a video that I'm going to have Chris show. Chris, can you show that now?
It's actually Ms. Maddox, and she's working on it.
Oh. Okay. Now, while she's trying to bring that up, let me know when it's ready. That started several years ago, 30 plus years ago. It was so successful, and they got so much money to donate to that, and everybody loved it, but then they said, well, they only get to go in fifth grade one time, so they opened up Finance Park, and that was for the older kids. They started it for middle school, but then when the financial literacy standards came, they pushed it to high school. They have an auto store there where they have to learn how to be auto salesmen and sell cars. They had a Publix. They had all kinds of really interesting things there for the older kids to learn. And so the older kids got to go there one day a year. They learn personal finance. They learn how to save, how to invest, how to understand credit and their credit report, how to learn time management working with a team. And it's now they use the financial literacy standards to use that for their day there. But they learn it about 6 weeks before they go. So when they go there, they already know what they're going to do and what they do for the day. And they said it's probably one of the best days they have all year. I talked to several of the kids, and they absolutely loved being there. The Pinellas Ed Foundation this whole thing started because one of their donors went and visited Kansas City and saw this and said, I want to bring it back to our community. And his name was Gus A. Stavros, and they started the Institute, which actually branched off into doing not just the Ed Foundation, but funding the Enterprise Village Finance Park, and now they're opening up a STEAM section. So they're gonna have one for elementary, middle school, and high school. So the kids will get to go one time in each of their different grade levels that, from elementary, middle school, and high school. When I was there, the former superintendent, Mike Greco, spoke about the power of the Ed Foundation and school boards working together, and it was extremely motivational. The Finance Park had 16 stores. They had a credit union, a Better Business Bureau, they had a Carrabba's and Bonefish, so anybody wanted to go into the restaurant business could learn about the restaurant business. They had Career Source, they had an automotive sales department, they had Duke Energy. So what they do is they get local businesses to come in, pay for the storefront, pay for items that the kids get to purchase that day, and they donate all of that, and they sometimes donate their people to come in and teach the kids. So it was an awesome opportunity. It's exactly what Micro Society was supposed to look like, and they've been doing it for 30 plus years, so it was pretty cool. Were you able to get that up yet? I gave it to them this afternoon. Okay.
Mr. Board, question, is
Sure.
that, I've been to Imagine a few times and been in on their businesses, is that similar to that?
It's
or-
better.
Okay.
And the reason why it's better is because they have the storefronts.
Oh, okay.
And every single child in the community gets to go. It's not just one
Just
school.
one school, yeah.
It's everybody gets to visit this, and it was pretty impressive.
We can go to the next item, and we'll come back to the.
Okay. I'm kind of disappointed that that didn't get to go
we'll
when
get
I
it up.
talked about it. Is it coming up? There it goes.
Was involved in that when I was president of Home Shopping Network.
Oh, wow.
You're one of the early supporters.
You might want to bring that up.
Yeah.
Do you want to say that into the mic, Mr.?
I just said I've seen it. When I was president of Home Shopping Network, probably 18, 20 years ago, we were involved in it, and actually had one of the shops. But it was, even then, very impressive. It was just Enterprise Village long before the Finance Village, but it was terrific, and kids loved it.
Yay, we finally got it up. Okay.
The idea, of course, originally came from Howard Hinesley, who had been in Kansas City and seen this hallmark center called Exchange City. And he kept approaching Dad, who was very busy in the community at the time as well as at Florida Progress. And he said, I really want you to start a foundation and build this for our students in Pinellas County.
We can do a lot of talking in the classroom and a lot of instruction, but we're attempting to make as close to real life running a business as we can with Enterprise Village.
After several requests, he finally said, okay.
I don't think anyone would have imagined that Enterprise Village would become a worldwide free enterprise program for the children of the world, not just of Pinellas County. For Enterprise Village, we went around as a kind of a dog and pony show with the superintendent, and we talked to people with this mock-up of Enterprise Village, and we raised $1.1 million.
He went and got Barnett Bank or Morton Plant Hospital or Florida Power so that these businesses were familiar with these fifth graders when they became adults in this community.
This is Enterprise Village, a place where a lesson in economics comes to life.
This program is a joint venture involving the school district, the business community, and a group of very dedicated volunteers. The beneficiaries are the children.
He once said that the reality was by far better than the dream.
You've heard me say, tell me I forget, show me I may remember, but involve me,
I understand.
Gus has had a vision of how to bring people to a level they never thought they could achieve. And that's what always inspired me with his ability to see things that most of us don't see. Well, all you have to do is look around as we're here in Enterprise Village on this Friday, and you see youngsters that are excited, they're motivated, you see smiles on their face, and they don't look like what people might think, well, they're just passing time. No, these youngsters are having a good time, and they're learning.
Enterprise Village has been such a legend in our community. I think if you talk to any adult in this community, because it's been around, we're celebrating its 30th year, they'll tell you the one thing they remember about Pinellas County School is Enterprise Village and what they were and how they served during that day at Enterprise Village. My own children went through Enterprise Village, and they remember exactly how they got dressed up, the position they had, how they had to interview for it, and it gives us an opportunity to be an adult for a day.
Enterprise Village is one of those unique opportunities that when I'm out in the community and I'm talking about the Pinellas Education Foundation and I mention Enterprise Village, instantly the person can tell me, oh, I was the mayor, oh, I worked in the bank, I was a teller. I mean, it resonates with them. It's one of those sort of monumental moments in a student's experience in Pinellas County Schools is their opportunity to come to Enterprise Village.
If you ask a child 10 years after they leave here, what was their best experience at school? Many of them come back and say Enterprise Village, you know. We have a spot here, Ditech, and it's manufacturing, and they bring out the tools every morning for these young people. We've got young people learning about our free enterprise system and learning that career and technical education is not a bad path.
So I was actually one of the first students to attend Enterprise Village when it first opened about 30 years ago. 2 of my daughters have been through Enterprise Village so far. And I got to experience that as well as a volunteer, so I got to come here and watch them in action. It was nice to hear that my kids chose to be the managers of Better Business Bureau, which is a company that I now work for, and we're able to be a sponsor of Enterprise Village and help support what the organization is doing.
In the curriculum, the students learn about their skill sets, their strengths, their weaknesses, and they apply for jobs using those strengths and weaknesses.
It is an experience like none other, and it also teaches us about hands-on learning, application. You can do anything you want in the classroom through textbooks, but when you go into an environment where it's actually a community village, it's so meaningful to students, and they remember that forever.
But at the end of the day, the most important thing is the impact that we're having on students. The Education Foundation is all about bringing equitable, innovative solutions to Pinellas County schools.
One doesn't realize exactly when one starts something, how it's going to go, but I've often said nobody accomplishes anything alone, not one person. It needs people working together, a team, a village, an enterprise village.
So it was 35 years, not 30 years now. And it was interesting because when I was there, that, you know, there's some kids working in, the ER that they had set up there. And it was sponsored by the local hospital. Johns Hopkins was one of them. And the kids had to go get a health checkup first before they could go get insurance. So they start the day with doing all these things that you have to do in real life. And they get this little health checkup that says, okay, you can go buy insurance, and they go get insurance. And then they go to the bank and they find out, you know, that they have to work to get paychecks, and they get paychecks. They get 3 breaks a day, which is good. And even the little TV studio, they interviewed teachers, and they actually did packages. They learned how to produce the packages, and then they send them to their local education channel, and they present them. Whatever the kids had made that day. Same thing with the radio station. They did a radio spot, and that got to be on the radio. And you saw the kids writing checks, so at the end of the day, they have to balance their checkbook and make sure that they bring it to the tellers. So it was just a really great way of seeing all their hard work for 6 weeks, learning about financial literacy and civics. That was a lot of it too. Come together in one day of action. So it was just a remarkable thing. It was so neat to see.
Is that all funded by their Ed Foundation?
It is.
Okay.
They get donations. They had one person that works full-time on keeping it going and getting the donations and getting the sponsors. So what happens is every single storefront is sponsored by a different business or a hospital or a bank or whatever, and they're responsible for funding it and setting it up and working with them to develop the curriculum.
Dr. Moore, that's another out-of-the-box thing we could look at.
It was just impressive.
Great.
Really impressive. I'm glad to see that you've seen it, so you know what it is.
Thank you.
Okay, sure. All right, so the next item is Diligent and by board. So Diligent is what Board Docs is moving to. Board Docs has been purchased by another company, and the parent company is Diligent, and they're changing the whole look of Board Docs. And so they're going to be pushing everybody that has Board Docs over to this at some point. The question is, at what point do we want to go? And so we need to look into what's the cost and when does this board want to make that move? Because what they do is they keep everything on Board Docs as a backup so that, you know, we have all that. And then they move you to the new system and you have to have some training on that. So has there been any discussion, Dr. Moore, on when we're moving to Diligent?
Not at this point, but we will, as we do for everything, we'll create a timeline and action plan.
Okay, so I just wanted to put it on your radar to look because they already have several school districts that are jumping on board early. Sometimes it's not good to jump on early.
We'll learn from them.
Kind of like school start times, you know, you kind of learned what worked and what didn't. But that came up. There were lots of things at FSBA, and I know Ms. Rosario is going to talk about that too, that were just so impressive. But thank you. I wanted to say thank you, Bruce, to following up because, you know, we go to all these things and we come back all excited about stuff, and then we feel like sometimes nothing happens with it. So I appreciate you. When I brought up by board last couple of years, you jumped on that, so I appreciate that. Okay. Any comments on that?
I'm good.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, go ahead.
So I was at that workshop as well. One of the things, well, there were several things that were really neat about Diligent. If you didn't sit in that, I think mostly Dorian will be super happy with some of the features that are there. Miss Morey, sorry. But some of the features are live streaming. We have the ability, if we wanted to view or to live stream our meetings. There is a picture of what that looks like. It's not as clear as what we have now, but the ability is there. There is closed captioning that also comes with live streaming, which I love because those people who are, you know, hard of hearing have the ability to then see the live streaming. I mean, the closed captioning on the bottom of the screen. If there were the ability for that live stream. Some of the other features that I saw also was the ability for board members to pull up their agenda and annotate on the agenda right then and there, save it, and then come back to the meeting, pull it back up, and there are all of your notes, your circles, your highlighting items, whatever it is that you wanted. There's also, which I thought was really fantastic and very helpful for me, it's a timeline of all the changes and the edits on all of our policies. That is so helpful because sometimes we might have some edits this year, maybe 2 or 3 edits, but we don't get to recall those unless you actually have it in front of you. Whereas on this Diligent, you can tap a button for timeline and it will pull up all of the dates in which there was an edit. You click on that and you can actually see the edit that was done, and then, you know, or you can go to the one that was actually published as a result of a public hearing. It does follow Robert's rules, which is really fantastic as well. And the minutes, and it allows for minutes to be taken right on there, which is really interesting, and you don't have to do like the hand notes. They have these little drop down bars that you would be able to click to be able to very simply and easily, and minutes could be created and accessed just about immediately. Once you hit save, it's there. And you can always go back and, make changes to it, but it is kind of capturing the minutes right there as it also follows Robert's rules. There's a feature there for voting, which I don't really recommend too much, but if we were the type of board that did anonymous voting, which we don't, you can actually program voting yes, no, or abstain, and then the board member from their desk would be able to hit yes, no, or abstain. If we were told that you can customize those, which is pretty interesting, so if you don't hear someone, the benefit to that, I think, is if we were in the days of the pandemic, and, sometimes we had a hard time viewing, people who were, on Teams or whatever it was, the audio. If you didn't have good audio and we were taking a vote, you often missed what the person's vote was. This has an opportunity for you to be able to capture that vote clearly. And also the fact that Neola is moving in that direction too. So I think that there are a lot of benefits to it. I don't know who else went to that, but it was very, very interesting. And I hope it doesn't break the bank, but it's definitely something that I'm certainly interested in looking into.
Okay. Protocols.
Yeah, so along that line, there was one of the workshops that I went to on First Amendment rights brought up a case that was a court case. I took pictures of the screenshots. A court case that the Brevard County was sued on with regard to First Amendment rights. And it really had to do with public comment and the public comment policy. So this is really going to be for our attorney here. One of the things that was raised was that citizens sued Brevard County and the citizens won. The courts ruled in favor of the citizens, claiming that, let me pull that one up, claiming that their First Amendment rights were chilled. Chilled was the word. It was chilled because they were told to, there were several things on there, but one of the things was they were told to address the chairperson directly during citizen comment, and that they could not individually address each board member. Now, that's part of our policy, and I wanted to raise this as an issue here because we do the same thing. We tell citizens to address only the chair, but if it's going to chill speech, and obviously it's something that I think Neola, what I was told is that Neola is working on updating the policies to address this court ruling. So I just want to make sure that, number one, we no longer do that. And number two, at what point do we start not doing that? So I'm going to send this, I think you're shaking your head, Ms. Shattuck, because I think you're familiar with it. Can you fill us in on that court ruling and obviously how that would affect us and our meetings and how we conduct our meetings here?
Yes, thank you. I'm through the chair. So this was a court case that was brought in Brevard County. It was brought on a policy that was a Neola policy on public comment. I believe the number is 0169.1, similar to ours. And at first, the court ruled in favor of the school district, but then on appeal, that was reversed. And so Neola is currently working on updating that policy for all of its districts so that it will accord with the results of that court case. That is correct.
Can I ask, was the final decision just made? Because I talked to one of the board members and he said that's still up in the air, it's still being battled.
It's final.
The ruling came out, I'm trying to think the exact date. It wasn't long ago. But no, the ruling did come out.
But they said that for some reason, I guess it went to appeal again or something, because the board members are saying that they're still waiting on one other opinion supposed to come down any day.
I can check on the status of that. I do not know that there's been another appeal to it. So I can check on the status of that for
Okay,
you.
please do.
Thanks.
Dr. Jones.
I talked to that board member who talked about it in one of my meetings, and I thought they were waiting for one other thing. So if they are, that's fine. If not, we'll have to see what we have to do.
Ms. Rosario?
Yeah, the ruling, just in summary here, the government has a relatively broad power to restrict speech in limited public forums, but that power is not unlimited. Speech restrictions must still be reasonable, viewpoint neutral, and clear enough to give speakers notice on what speech is permissible. The board's policies for public participation at board meetings did not live up to those standards, and the district's court's judgment is therefore reversed, and the case is remanded for proceedings consistent with this opinion. I will say that what was presented, because these were attorneys who were presenting this session, what was presented was still a firm support for the board's policy on ensuring that there still isn't anything that would be obscene or, out of order. Anything that would cause unrest in our meeting. Of course, that's still protected. But it's the other little things about, for example, addressing just the chair, that is something that actually stood out to me. Now, I bring this up because in our protocols today, I missed something. If you open your protocols to page 7, I can point it out to you. And you all have it in the black binder. So it is the, under public participation on page 7, the first bullet. It reads, "The board urges members of the public to address the board chairperson during duly convened board meetings." And obviously, that's the part that would need to change. So I'm not sure how we want to change it. This is why I wanted to leave it up to Ms. Shattuck to kind of give us the legal standing on this, or bring it back to us at the next workshop. But I think that is one, today we were talking about there was like one or two things that we saw that needed to change. This was something that I missed, obviously, and it reminded me of this meeting. Are you going to say something?
In looking at the protocols during the conversation this morning, I think there was a number of things that probably need to be updated. We did this in 22, I think, and protocols were based on policies. Policies are based on state statute changes, policy changes, protocols have not. So we're going to have to build in a structure so when board members refer back to a protocol, it's current.
Yeah.
So I had a little bit of hesitation as I was perusing the policies as you were talking. I was paying attention, but I was perusing the policy saying we may need to create a process embedded into our policy review and lay protocols over the top, so they're always current as well. So I think you're highlighting one of those areas. I think there's probably 2 or 3 other, just in a quick perusal.
Yeah, there weren't a lot. There weren't a lot. I mean, we all agreed we don't need another session for it, but definitely the 2 main items that were brought up earlier, certainly the first one we all agreed on. This is one that wasn't brought up. And so moving forward, though, what's going to happen, assuming that we are going to change how we conduct our business meeting, and how citizens communicate during citizen input, that's going to have an effect on how this changes here. So what has been, I guess to Ms. Shattuck, what has been a change, or what is expected of a change as a change in board meetings because of this ruling?
Thank you, through the chair. I'll have to follow up with you on that. I know that they are making those changes, but I'm not sure the exact status of them.
Okay. Anybody else want to speak to that? Okay, yeah, I'm just going to say a couple things. One, it's interesting how boards are across the state with allowing citizen input, or the way they do citizen input. You know, the statute says you don't have to have cameras on at all. So a lot of people say, you know, we demand to have the cameras on us and all that other stuff. Well, the statute says you don't have to have cameras. You just have to record the minutes of the meeting. So that's quite interesting that people think that they have that right, but you don't. It's what we choose to do. The other thing is the general public comment, citizen input time is not required either. What is required is that they can speak before an action item. And so we do both. So I think that, you know, citizens need to know that we do more than what the expectation is. And we want citizen input. We want that powerful voice. But I think people forget that that's something that our board does that other boards don't do. And some boards do it at the end. Some boards do it off camera beforehand. So there's lots of different ways it's done. But, you know, the way we do it right now, you know, I think safety is our biggest concern. And so I appreciate that comment that was made today about safety. All right, last item, FSBA.
There was one other thing. When we talked about a previous policy that was just passed for public hearing, even though it didn't come to us at a previous workshop, and two board members, Dr. Posca and I, who did not support it, said that the language was too vague. I will say that it should have been very specific, right? It should have been changed. And that's a shame. In this court hearing, courts require a level of certainty in free speech policies. Now, a policy, according to Young Israel of Tampa, Inc. versus Hillsborough Area Transit Authority, it says that a policy is unreasonable if it, quote, fails to define key terms and lacks any official guidance and vests too much discretion in the charged with its, in those charged with its application. So if we're not specific in our policies, I think that we are doing a disservice to the district, to ourselves. And when you say that we're getting into the weeds, we have to, because that's our job. Policy is our job, and being specific and defining those key terms is critical.
Hey, FSBA.
That was it. That was all FSBA.
Okay. All right. We're now to school board member matters. Mr. Dyer, would you like to go first?
I don't have any more comments.
Okay. Dr. Posca?
I'm going to do a rare school board member matters.
We're excited.
Yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed the conference. I was working, I worked at a hospital all week, and I took care of 126 people, and most common diagnosis treated, which was more than half, was pneumonia. You know, unfortunately, the first day, two passed away the first day, which is very sad. And, you know, of those many cases of pneumonias, there was influenza A, influenza B, 4 rhinoviruses, which rarely cause pneumonia. It's kind of fascinating. Enterovirus, Streptococcus pneumoniae. There was Pseudomonas pneumonia. There was MRSA pneumonia. And then most of them, nothing was isolated as a cause, but most got better, thankfully. So I guess just the PSA is it's pneumonia season. So if you're not feeling good and you have a cough, you have low energy, go get checked out. Don't wait till you get worse and come to the hospital and need a bunch of oxygen and get sick.
Okay. Dr. Jones.
Attended FSBA, and I think I learned from several of the breakouts, but I think my favorite ones were the committees I was on. One was the new Labor Relations Committee. I talked to Dr. Moore about that. They chose 8 board members in the state to be on it, and I really didn't have to say much because they were talking about all the problems they had with their negotiations, and I just was bragging a little bit. And for our teachers and support staff, and Ms. Crisafulli, who works with that. But it really, really was interesting because it puts it in perspective what people are experiencing, and we're very lucky. And the other, I'm on the equity committee also there, and Pinellas County did a great presentation on what they're doing to reduce discipline issues in the middle school. Because if you look at it statewide, it usually peaks in the middle school and then it comes down a little bit in the high school. So that was a very, very good presentation. I don't know if all those PowerPoints are up, but when I get that, I'll certainly send that along with everybody. And the other components were good. I mean, I attended several of those. Still working with Moonshot with the pre-K kids. We'll be doing a lot of that delivery next week. And one thing that Mr. Marsh talked about, my husband and I helped with those meals on Thanksgiving Day in preparation. Thank you to the Sheriff's Department because we cooked the turkeys there. And then at the community church, we set up all the meals so they'd be ready to go. And then we served the hot meals when we were at Gifford on Thanksgiving Day. So thank you for all that he does and all the volunteers who came out. And winter sports are rolling along. I know this is our last meeting before Christmas, but check your school calendars because a lot of activities are happening, not just winter concerts, but other activities in the year. And another congratulations to Dr. Moore and Mr. Seymour. We will miss you so much. Thank you.
Ms. Rosario?
I just wanted to do another congratulations, or give another congratulations to Vero Beach High School on the 100 years of excellent service recognized by Cognia. I think that, I don't know what other schools received 100 years. We should have asked Cognia that. Maybe Vero Beach High School is the only one, but that's pretty impressive. The science fair judging at Vero Beach Elementary last week before going to FSBA conference was so cool. And those kids are just adorable. I'm sorry. Kindergartners with their science projects, I love it. It's just wonderful. The vestibule in Vero Beach Elementary is gorgeous. If anyone can just go in and see it, I mean, it is stunning. The monitors that they have these projectors that project on the wall and running videos all day long. It is just stunning. The Learning Alliance had a grant that helped, put all of that together for them in that center vestibule. And I was just floored by it because it was really, really beautiful. Looking forward to PRISM at Sebastian River High School, which is their annual presentation. And I just want to wish Mr. Seymour, again, an incredible retirement. I know that we're going to still see you for a little bit. And obviously, I don't suppose that you're going to move out of Vero. So we will see you around in the community, of course. Certainly open invitation whenever you are around and would like to come back. We'd love to have you. And Dr. Moore, congratulations one more time, and Merry Christmas to everybody, and Happy Holidays, and all the good fuzzies, and looking forward to a new year.
Okay, so just a reminder, board members, ethics training is due. So make sure you get your ethics training information in. I have mine to give to you. Eric, of course, congratulations and well wishes, and let's play golf sometime. The conference was great. I really got a really good, I thought the sessions this year were really good. And speakers were really good, but I really got a chance to speak with a lot of different board members from different counties with similar issues, but also not similar issues, and wanted to ask us what we were doing in Indy River. It was amazing how many people asked me that question. And then, of course, the Pinellas Ed Foundation, that was really great, and the consortium to give an award. And shout out to Janet Knupp
Yes.
for all she does for raising that much, helping us raise that much money so quickly. Shout out to Little Dodgertown Explorer Troop. Well, the Explorer Troop 551, I should say. They were at Dodgertown. What a great little group. And then I saw them that night in the Christmas parade.
Oh, yeah.
So it was really cute to see them all there, and they were just so great. Before I say Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, all that, I'd just like to extend a thank you to the people that realized that my dad died in the ER right before Thanksgiving.
Aw.
So it's been a rough couple weeks,
Sorry.
and yeah, it's I just appreciate everything that those people that knew did for me, and it's tough when you lose a parent, no matter how old you are. And holding his hand in the ER, watching him die, it was tough. But had a good life, and I really respect everything he's done. So with that, superintendent's closing.
Just wish everyone a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. Not to echo it, but in listening to Mr. Seymour's remarks, if you want to assess the strength of a system or organization, assess its relationships. And what came through to me is the relationships, the strength of those relationships, and how we all depend upon one another. And those are very, very strong relationships, and you have very, very successful outcome. So there are quality people in this system. It is not because of David Moore. It is because of the people who really have high expectations and engage in this work. So very, very, very thankful. This is outside of the opening of schools, the next 2 weeks is the absolute most busiest 2 weeks in a school year. So we're going to be going AM to PM. We will see our houses in the light of day during the weekend. So a lot of work to do in the next 2 weeks.
All right, with that, I'd like to thank everyone for viewing and coming out this evening. At this time, I'd like to adjourn the meeting. The time is 9:17.